Welcome, do come in for the Halloween special of the Softlock podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jake, and joining me is the birthday boy, Jonathan. How are you doing?
I was so taken aback from you doing Dracula.
Should I do an evil laugh?
That's good. That's good. I like when people do Dracula voices, and it's just like the accent is so thick that it's just like a comically absurd. Like, not surprisingly, Adam Sandler's Dracula in Hotel Transylvania is not as exaggerated as you can get.
That movie makes me violently uncomfortable because of the amount of thirst there is for it. I don't like to talk about that movie.
You know, the thirst for Dracula?
Dracula and his underage daughter.
Yeah. Well, I don't really know how that works.
Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable. So I don't want to talk about Adam Sandler Dracula.
Yeah. Yeah, but we have the, Jonathan, you're banging my daughter. We have that. So that's good.
So what's been going on, Jonathan? I haven't talked to you in like forever. Like I said, by the time this comes out, you're a year older. Anything you want to tell your future self?
Dude, I like keep on forgetting it's going to be my birthday. I don't even know.
After like 21, they don't really matter anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been one for birthdays. You know, I mean, for my own birthdays. Other people's birthdays are fine, but for my own birthdays, I don't know. I just don't really, the attention, I just don't really know how to handle the attention for it, because it's just like, you were born. And I was like, I was. Thank you. And unfortunately, my birthday is one that many people remember because it is a day before Halloween. So they couldn't have given it to someone else, to someone who's more appreciative towards birthdays. It's a little tragic in a way.
Do you think that you have like partial feelings that way because it's so close to Halloween? So like, you know, a party was never really going to happen unless it was Halloween themed or anything like that?
No. We actually never skipped my birthday. I've never had an incident with both of them crossing over. It wasn't like, well, another good aspect about it is that, you know, it's not a gift-giving holiday. So it's not like my birthday is going to be intertwined with a gift-giving holiday, you know, like Christmas or something. My parents were really good about not having those two intersect. However, we did skip my birthday one year when Hurricane Sandy hit Staten Island. We just skipped it. Well, I didn't even realize we skipped it until like half a decade later. I was like thinking about it. I was like, yeah, Hurricane Sandy did happen. I'm like Hurricane Sandy hit. It got really bad the night into my birthday. So it was like the 29th or something when like we were getting hit, and it got really bad overnight. And then when we woke up the next morning, it was pretty much like done with. And that was the night of the 30th. The morning of the 30th was when it hit, and I remember just being like, "Happy birthday, you're alive!" I'm like, "Yay!" So
I guess it's one of those things you only really remember it if you were there. I didn't really realize that Sandy had hit New York, or Staten Island rather, that hard. Was it like a problem? Everyone was okay, or was it like a big deal?
It wasn't great. I mean, it was certainly nothing to the extent of first of all, other storms and hurricanes, and even just other areas that got hit by Sandy. Staten Island didn't really get hit as hard, at least. And you know, I'm maybe like 6 blocks or so away from a harbor from ocean, so we were initially concerned that it was going to be bad. There was a lot of damage, like 3 blocks and closer to the harbor were damaged pretty badly. I know a friend who did in fact lose his house, which was unfortunate, but then he got a cool new house, and he liked it more. So, but yeah. I mean, the worst thing that happened to me was that me and like the whole neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods just didn't have power for like a couple weeks. Like it took a really long time to get power back. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think Staten Island got hit absurdly hard. It wasn't great, but you know, it wasn't like, you know, the great Hurricane Sandy disaster. You know, there's no memorials going up. It's just like, oh yeah, Sandy, did you get hit bad by Sandy? He's like, yeah, no, you know.
Damn. Well, I'm glad you and your folks are okay. Sorry you didn't get a birthday that year. You doing anything to celebrate this year?
I'm gonna stream.
Ooh.
I'm gonna stream with my friends. That's what I'm gonna do. And that's it.
Any chance you'd be willing to divulge the stream game right here, right now?
Yeah, fuck it. I guess it's not gonna go out. I guess this episode's not gonna. When is this episode gonna come out?
Halloween, baby. Thursday.
Halloween? Yeah, then it won't even matter because I'll already have streamed it. I will divulge it to you, so it'll be your secret until I stream it on Wednesday, which is my birthday night. And I'm going to stream the Oregon Trail, not the Oregon Trail. The Oregon Trail. Are you familiar with it?
An excellent game. Love that game.
You know of it?
Mm-hmm. Played it a lot
Yeah.
in like middle school, high school.
On the iOS version, I bet.
Yep.
I'm just gonna play. I'm gonna play through that. I'm gonna name characters after whoever's in chat, who are gonna be my friends. And we're just gonna. I'm gonna play it on a higher difficulty, just cause. And we'll see who is the first person to sit on 30 ammo and ruin it. To which case I will shoot them in the head immediely.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. I like that game. I think it'll be fun. It'll be like a slower, chill game. To those who are listening, I have been streaming, not for any real purpose besides just like kind of just dicking around and just having it be like a gathering place for friends. No real plans to like have like actual stream schedule and grow or anything like that. I'm just streaming for fun, just for fun for me and my friends. In the last two things I streamed it was just very difficult because the first thing I streamed was Piece of Tower, and I was trying to go as fast as I could, and I could not for the life of me understand how to play the game and look at chat and like balance those two. So I had like the worst playthrough Pizza Tower I've ever had. And then the second thing I did, the next stream, I played Dwarf Fortress. And I named everyone after my friends, and we were gonna go in and we'd like learn about our dwarves, but I like fucked up somehow, and I could not build lower than a couple of layers because there was just a giant aquifer. Like the whole world was aquifer, and that's like a really, really difficult thing to get through. Like just a little bit of aquifer isn't that big of a deal, but when every block is aquifer, it's fucking impossible. It's impossible. So the past two streams have been very, very difficult for me to balance enjoyment for myself and having it be entertaining, and then keep everyone in chat entertained. But I think this will be good because this really requires very little input from me, I think. So I think this will be a good one.
True. Plus lots of downtime where you can chat and ask people to like give input on decisions and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very simple game to comprehend. I think a criticism I received for the Dwarf Fortress stream is that it was completely alien. It was very difficult to understand what was going on. I could orate what was happening, but seeing what was happening was a bit difficult.
I get that. And that's Master_Moth, right?
Yeah. That should be right.
We'll have that in the description as well.
Yeah. But
I think
lower your standards. Yeah. Show must go on. But if you check out my stream, lower your standards. My bio just says for friends, so don't expect Da Vinci.
Da Vinci? Adachi?
No. Let's move on.
Yep. No, definitely check out Jonathan's streams. They're much better than mine already, and I can't wait to see the Oregon.
All right. Relax. Take it easy.
This show though is the Soft Luck Podcast. This is our Halloween special. If you've been a fan for a while, you remember we did one of these last year. We're basically going to do the exact same thing, except I believe last year we talked about games that traumatized us. This year, the topic is just going to be the scary stories. We're just sitting around the campfire telling scary stories. Of course,
a smattering of spooky games.
True, yes. This is a video game podcast, so we're going to be giving you a smattering of gaming leading up to the scary stories, because listen, we could just do an episode where we just tell scary stories, but I play video games like every single day of my life, and the only person I get to talk to about them is Jonathan. So I need to get some stuff off my chest.
We can talk about some creepy. Did we talk about creepypastas last year? We talked about it a little bit.
We did, a little bit.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely do some of that later. So that's the schedule today.
Yeah.
We're gonna be reviewing some spooky games. Then we're gonna be telling some scary stories, and then if we have time at the end, we're gonna be looking at some Reddit stories. Capiche?
Reddit stories. I love that. Okay. Yeah. Capiche.
All right. So yes, the spooky season. Me and you have talked before. Both of us always fall into the trap of October 1st rolls around, let me take 8 games off the shelf that are vaguely spooky and then not play any of them.
Oh, yep. Can you guess that I did that? I did
I-
exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of did. I stuck to my guns a little bit more this year because I announced that I was playing certain games on the last podcast, and that helped me like actually stick with it. But dude, that new Dragon Ball game looks so good, and I wanted to play it so bad, but
Oh, really?
but I had to hold so I could play horror games.
It does look phenomenal. I haven't really seen much of the gameplay, like actual like mechanical gameplay. So the actual mechanics could be complete dog shit. But the game, like visually, it looks so good. It looks so good.
Yeah, but I want to play that so bad, but I was like, nope. I also have Astrobot just sitting there waiting. I'm like, nope, gotta play scary games.
Oh, you did buy Astrobot?
I did. I got it on sale on eBay, and then the day after, it was like $20 cheaper on QVC. But it's okay. I still have it.
That sucks.
Finally got a paycheck.
That really sucks.
But I held off on all those so that I could focus on some scaries. And I'm actually really glad that I did, because I really got into the spooky mood this year. I watched some scary movies as well, and now I'm actually super hyped up for Halloween.
I'm not really feeling Halloween this year. I haven't gotten into the mood yet. I feel like there hasn't been a lot of I don't know, maybe where you are, they're decked out in decorations, but I haven't seen a lot. I'm very disappointed a little bit.
So I live in an apartment, so there isn't much going on, but in the surrounding neighborhoods, they do go all out. So I'm seeing that when I'm driving home. I also just spent the weekend in the middle of the woods, so that definitely contributed to the vibes.
Wow. How was that weather?
So cold. I slept in a tent on Saturday night, and it was 30 degrees. And my girlfriend brought her summer sleeping bag, so of course, the gentleman that I am, I gave her my minus 30 sleeping bag, and I took her summer bag, and my feet turned into feetsicles.
No! Oh, well, see, that would make me feel like it's fall. That would actually make me feel like it's the fall.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think honestly, playing these games has kept me in the zone, because I'm not consistently reading like scary stories or watching scary movies, but every night I would make, not every night, but as much as I could, I would make an effort to sit down, turn off all the lights, light a candle, put my headphones in, ignore everyone around me, and just play some spooky games. And that it's like, it's always in the back of my mind, like it's October right now, and I it's a certain vibe. I know you know what I'm talking about, but you kind of have to get into it and maintain it, or else you fall out of it. But it's really nice to be in it for once.
Yeah. I have a pristine fall memory. I have the absolute pinnacle of October for me was actually during 2020, during the pandemic, when me and you, our school was doing a home semester. It was 5 or 6 o'clock at night. The sun's already down. My windows were open. I had like a little lamp for lighting. So lighting in my room was perfect, and I was just playing some Darkest Dungeon, which is a very, very spooky game, and I was just like, this is it. This is fall. This is like fall vibes right now.
It's the best. It's just
Darkest Dungeon is a good game, by the way.
It is. It's very hard.
Yeah.
Kind of scared me away.
Yeah, I mean, it was really difficult, and I was like, this is fucking impossible. What am I supposed to do? And then I like read something. I basically... Darkest Dungeon is one of those games where you read one sentence that contextualizes everything, and you go, oh, I understand now. And then after that moment, the game became infinitely easier. So.
Yeah, I've always wanted to get back to it, but it's daunting.
Yeah, it's very daunting. But it's actually less daunting than you might think, because you really can't just fail as much as possible. There's no, like, end. Like, I mean, there is an end, like, there is, like, a final goal you can reach, but you kind of just reach it on your own terms, so you can't just continuously fail for like 3,000 hours and then eventually win. Might want to check it out. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll put it on the list.
I reviewed it on my college TV station a while back. That's still up there somewhere.
Wow. That's a time capsule.
It is.
All right, let's get into some reviews for some of these games. So I'm trying to decide where I want to start us off. I think I'm going to start us off with Faith. You had told me. You betrayed me. You betrayed me. You told me you were going to be playing this along with me, and you didn't.
Yeah. Things didn't really go to plan.
Yeah, is it just didn't have access to the computer? Is that kind of...
Yeah, my girlfriend's house, her girlfriend's family's house, has been a hot spot for guests and activities. And my pewter is in the basement, and that's the guest zone. So it was just limited access to pewter for a little bit, and I was also gone every weekend of this month. So it was just a tough time. It's just a tough time. And also my computer broke. Not really that it broke, but like for some reason all my games just kept breaking for some reason.
Well,
so
I mean, this one could run on like a potato, so I'd be surprised if you'd have trouble with it, but who knows?
Yeah, that's true. I did load it up and it did work. And I really, really do want to get into it. But so I haven't played any horror games this month. I did play games with very spooky themes. So I think it's close enough.
Fair enough. I mean, you know, nothing's really a horror game unless it's going for that, and I don't like those kinds of games. We talked about that last year. Go to our backlog. Oh, I didn't mention this. This is just something I noticed. This is episode 31 on October 31. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
I was gonna say that is really funny.
Faith, the Unholy Trinity, is a 8-bit style horror indie game that came out.
I think it's lower than 8-bit.
Well, it's like going for the 1-bit kind of thing, but like
Well, what's Atari?
Yeah, I mean it's going for like Atari Commodore style, but I think is that not 8-bit? I feel like that's. I'm zoomering myself right now.
What is Atari? Oh, look, is Atari 8-bit? I don't think it is. Oh,
I mean,
yeah, I guess it is 8-bit computer.
I thought it was, but it's not Nintendo 8-bit. It's scan lines and analog stick 8-bit, and it's okay. I'm gonna say it. I'm going to invoke the name. It is very much in the style of the mini games that you play between nights in Five Nights at Freddy's. It is pixelated.
Man who has only played Five Nights at Freddy's.
Listen, I've never played Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't think that's what they were going for, but the comparison is quite apt. And you're these very pixelated stick figures walking around. The basic pitch is that you are a priest that botched an exorcism, and because you failed, the demon that you were trying to exorcise is now going on to bigger and better things without you, and now you have to go and stop this cult from ending the world, and you're just a little pixelated priest. But the thing that is really special about Faith that I think people have been really into for years, because the chapter 1 of this game came out many years ago, and it's been a very long development process to finally get to the Unholy Trinity, which is 3 chapters of this game in one bundle with like some quality of life stuff that came out last year, I believe. This year on Switch. And it is the thing that makes it special is that all you're doing is walking and holding your cross up at things. There's no combat in the sense of there's no projectiles you're throwing, there's no abilities, there's no grabbing and pulling blocks for puzzles. It's you just walk around and you can hold up your cross, and that's it.
You're just having a good time. You're just walking around.
You're just being a priest.
Yep.
But it's special because even though that's the only thing you do the entire game, it is consistently unique and fresh and has so many surprises and so many unique mechanics that change up the things that you're doing. I mean, just from chapter to chapter, obviously, things change very dramatically. So in the first chapter, it's very simple. You're walking around a house and you can hold your cross up to items that kind of stand out from the art, and they'll flash for a little bit, and then you'll get a little note that explains some of the lore of how you got to this point. And then at the end, there's like a little boss battle where it's like you have to hold up the cross while facing the enemy, and then they shoot stuff at you and you have to dodge. And that's essentially the extent of the action in chapter 1. But then by chapter 3, you're doing all kinds of crazy stuff that doesn't break the mold, but works within it. So you're fighting enemies by reflecting things at them, by holding the cross up at the right time to move something, or you're in the dark and every time you press the button you get like 1 second of light and you can see where the enemies are to get out of the way, and you have to time that right, that kind of stuff. And it's just really, really cool. It's not as scary as I thought it was going to be, but it is very unsettling. There's I'm sure you've seen them. Actually, I know you have because you sent me a meme, but there's these rotoscoped animations that they have that are just really unsettling. It's like they just drew over like real footage to make it bouncy and pixelated and weird. And those are very unsettling. A lot of them not as scary as I thought they would be. And I think that's kind of the point, is that the people who made this game know that the more detail they put into these things, the less scary they actually become. That's the point of it being 8-bit, is you use your imagination to fill in the gaps. So a lot of these cutscenes that they have are more tone setters of like, here's the type of beast that you're working with, or here's the character's tones of actions and mannerisms and stuff. And then from then, they just go into this 8-bit pixelated thing with the Sam dialogue, which
I love this. That is like the best part of this whole thing for me. I think it's so good. But you're right. The cutscenes definitely they're very high quality, which is puts it at odds, I think, with the rest of the game. But like you said, it's not like a bad thing.
No, and there are not too many of them. The fun thing is actually on the PC version, you can go into the files and you can see all of the footage, the real life footage they shot to rotoscope over. And it's just silly, like the developers standing in their bedroom with like a key or whatever. It's silly, but it's fun.
Just having a good time. But I love the voice. The voices are so funny. That's the thing about Faith that really draws me to it, is that something about it doesn't really necessarily like scare me. It's like scares me, and it makes me laugh at the same time, because I've seen videos of people playing it, and it's like, you're walking through the woods and there's like this weird like creature who like walks on all fours, and then you see it goes like in like the weird like synthesizer voice, and it runs away. And that's so funny. It's hilarious. I mean, really, there's no way around it. But it is also what drew me to it in the first place, is these weird ass voices. But what I really learned to appreciate about them as they went on is that it's more scary than you think, for how like grating it is and how annoying it is to listen to for 6 hours or however long the game is. Mm-hmm. Because the humans have this weird ass voice already to begin with that's already unsettling. So then whenever they have demons speak, or like creepy people speak, and they distort it and play with it, now it's like, I already didn't like this, and this is pushing it even further. And that moment you're talking about with the creepy white four-legged creature thing, that moment, when you watch people play it, I get it. It is like super silly, because you're just walking in complete silence, and all of a sudden there's like this like thing that comes out of nowhere. It's awesome.
But when you're playing it and you have your headphones on and you're in the dark, I got chills down my spine the first time that thing showed up. And that type of feeling happens over and over again, because they are constantly doing things that really surprise you. So I won't spoil any of the things for you or anyone who wants to play it, but I would really recommend anyone who's interested in horror give it a shot, if you can get over the obvious barriers to entry. Because there's so many moments like that. One of them, I won't give away too many details, is you're doing something that you've done. This is like very in the middle of the game. You're doing something that you've done dozens of times, if not hundreds already by this point. But it's taking a little bit longer than you would expect. So a normal horror enjoyer would be like, oh, okay, there's a jump scare about to happen, because they're kind of like holding me in this position for longer than I would normally be here. But if you pay attention to what's going on, and you actually like look at everything that's on the screen and keep rolling with it, it becomes something so much more horrifying than a jump scare ever could be. And then it just takes you right out of it and goes into a normal scene right after that. It doesn't even resolve. It gives you no closure whatsoever. So now that's always in the back of your head for the entire game, every time you do that action. And that was, from that point on, I was like, I'm in. This is a great horror game. And I would implore most people to check it out.
Yeah, I need to get onto that. I think that it's definitely gonna be the next game I play on my pewter. I'm just really lazy, I guess.
I got you. It is on Switch, but this game takes place in the summer, and it feels very summery. So I could see maybe playing it in the summer to like really get into like the warm night kind of vibe.
That's interesting that you say that. Given the look of the game, that you say it's summery.
I mean, yeah, it's like I think it's like a New Mexico or like somewhere around there, like very deserty vibes, and it just feels like it looks warm all the time.
Yeah.
outside of like the dead trees and
Yeah, well, actually, you know what? It does actually remind me of the Oregon Trail. It's well, it is being modeled after the same era of games.
Yeah.
You know, the Apple computer type, like, you know, 80s computer Atari style games, and the Oregon Trail is pretty much a dead ringer for that.
True.
I mean, to be honest with you, they kind of did that first. Not that they like stole it or anything, but it's just interesting because if you should look at, you know, like the foraging / like hunting parts of the Oregon Trail. It's pretty much like it's very similar in like concept, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's not an era that's often thrown back to. So I'm glad to see someone doing like a really high quality throwback to that era.
Yeah, I like it when people do old school throwbacks. One of the games I have played is a throwback type thing, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. I want you to tell me about it. My last thought on Faith. It has that thing we talked about on the last episode where you gotta do a bunch of bullshit to get the true ending, and that really sucks.
Yep.
I mean, that's
what. Yeah.
Certainly play with a guide. I would not discourage you from having a guide if you want to experience the full game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. True endings just do that. There's a very fine line between the true ending that makes you go, all right, that's reasonable, and true ending that makes you go, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Fuck this guy.
It's not like it would take too long to do it. It's just like a bunch of bullshit, and the ending without the true ending is very unsatisfying. So, if you want the full experience, definitely use a guide.
Yeah.
But tell me about your
wait. Before we move on, before you, if you don't get the true ending, is that it? Do you just like lose out on? Like, if you don't get the true ending immediately, can you like load a save, or do you have to do the whole game over again, a whole chapter over again?
You have to do the whole chapter over again, unless you had made progress towards your progress saves. So like if you did the first thing, I think you could probably go back to there if it's not too late. But I don't think you have like a save slot situation that you can use. I mean, the thing is, the chapters aren't that long. Like even chapter 3 is the longest one. I think it's like 4 hours. That's 4 hours of walking around as a little stick figure when I already know where all the jump scares are, and so
that's
I'm
true.
Like, you know, I didn't feel like it.
Yeah, I get that. Reasonable.
Yeah. But tell me about your throwback game.
Oh, okay. I've been playing a game called Skald against the Black Priory, and it is well, it's in spirit, it's like kind of like a throwback game in terms of like its visual appeal, but the actual like mechanics and gameplay are not throwbacks in any way. It's a throwback to old computer RPGs for something like the Commodore 64 and stuff like that. And it's pretty good. Oh, I'm reading right now. It is inspired by the 1980s role-playing games such as the Ultima series. That's a big name. I've never seen a screenshot of Ultima ever, but I heard it's good.
I watched the trailer for this one before we recorded, and it looked pretty striking. Like it stands out.
Yeah. It's I'm not too far into it. I'm only 5 hours into it, but I have been really enjoying it so far. I really like the I love CRPGs. Specifically, they take a tactical RPG sort of aspect to it, with traditional like RPG leveling and stuff like that, and I really like that, like party management, unique party combinations where every character has like a class that can do unique things, and you know, I'm just a sucker for that shit, even if it isn't very, very good, and I think it balances so far, at least, the difference between having a ton of combat encounters and having a bunch of story encounters. You speak to a lot of, for like quests and stuff, you speak to a lot of characters, and then you engage with the quest through like text boxes and choices through your text boxes, but there still is a lot of combat to get you through it. And there hasn't been too many instances where I've been given like real substantial out of combat choices. But I've gotten a couple, so I know that they're in the game, and there's probably gonna be more later, and they're pretty tangible. Like there's a section where you're like walking towards this village, and then a bunch of cultists like like show up over this cliffside of the mountain that you're on, and you're just like, you kind of hide away, and then they start like doing a ritual, and they bring out these 2 sacrifices, and they like throw them off a cliff and to like the road level, kind of where you are, and then on that road there's a little beach and a shoreline, and this big like monstrosity like crab creature comes out and starts eating the sacrifices, and then it's like, you know, attack like the creature, or you could try to make a performance check, because it has like D&D style attributes like that, skills, and you could be like, I pretend to worship the deity along with the cultists, and then you do it, and if you make it, like, they're like, oh, all right, and it leaves you alone, or you can like run away. So there's plenty of instances like that, and the combat is also pretty interesting, I'd say, because it's less of like it's pretty stiff. I think I can compare it to Baldur's Gate 3, but that, like, as in they're very different. Baldur's Gate 3, I think, has very like free form combat. Like, you can do so much, and you have so many options at any given time, basically, in Baldur's Gate 3. But in this, you are much more grounded in what you can do. You have much less options, and you're kind of locked into many things. So, for example, this happens in Baldur's Gate, but for example, in Baldur's Gate, if you are facing an enemy, like an enemy's right next to you, and you're in combat with them, if you run away, you'll be subject to a strike of opportunity unless you disengage and then run away. But once you leave, like, you can leave, like, you can go a significant distance after you run. But in Skald, if you are engaging with an enemy, and you disengage with them, it moves you 1 space, and then your turn ends. Oh. So, yeah. So there's, I haven't gotten the full flow of combat. I'm still learning. Like, I'm definitely still learning the game, but this seems like a game where you can learn a lot and do a lot if you play your cards right. One criticism I do have to say is that the character classes they give you in the beginning, not that they give you in the beginning, like, you make your own character, and then you can find like NPC characters with like personalities and stuff. And most of the characters you find in the very beginning are non-magic classes. I think this has been described in Steam reviews, as like a low magic setting, where there's like magic exists, but it's like not as common as something like D&D Baldur's Gate 3, where every character has magic in some capacity. And without magic, it can be a bit boring. Like, it took until I felt very limited in what I could do, and I felt very at odds with certain enemies and encounters until I got a magic character, and then I was like, oh, this really opens things up. So if you play this game, for anyone who's listening, maybe start out with a magic character, perhaps, to offset the physical characters you'll be getting, and also take advantage of the first character you get's backstab ability. Because if you're attacking an enemy and you are on opposite sides, so if I'm on the enemy's right and I have an ally on the enemy's left, they're flanked, and Kat, when she has the ability unlocked, which is like, it takes like, you know, literally, I think maybe 3 skill points, and you start off with like 11 skill points to spend. You get a lot of skill points to spend each level, like 3 per level, and then you get like a lump sum at the very beginning. And the backstab does like a lot of damage, so you're gonna wanna do that. It's pretty good.
Pro gamer tips.
Yeah, pro gamer tips. Another thing that's really cool. I really like this. I like this quite a bit. So you make your own character, and then there's the written NPC characters that you can have join your party that have like lines and unique portraits and dialogues and conditions and shit like that. And then there's these group of characters that you can find out in the world called mercenaries, and they're just blank characters that you can just hire. And when you hire them, you immediately go into the character creator and you make another character basically the exact same way you made your character in the beginning of the game. And that is a really cool way to flesh out your party the exact way you want to. So
Pretty cool.
yeah, it is really cool. Like, I made a paladin type character. I then had a thief, and then I had a warrior character, and I found a mercenary. I spent 300 gold to make the character, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go all in for like a full caster, just to like balance out my party, see what's happening. And as soon as she was on my party, I was like, this. Okay, I get it now. Like, this is really, really cool. Because you really do get a ton of spells for spellcasters. Physical characters get techniques, which are, I would say, less common and less useful, but they are free to use. They just require a cooldown. Meanwhile, spells require a resource. And also something that's unique about Skald is that there's 2 health bars. So there's your vitality, and then there's your wounds. So the first bar that you take damage from is your vitality. And that is the health that is easily gained, easily lost. And then once you lose your vitality, you're going to start taking wound damage, which will start giving you more longer lasting injuries that will minus points off of your attributes until you rest or heal. And then when you lose all that, then your character's knocked out. And I like that. It's a different way of doing health. It's not a traditional, like, it's a throwback CRPG, but it's certainly not a traditional CRPG or really a traditional RPG in any sense of the word. It's very unique, visually and gameplay wise. It's very unique, and I'm excited to get more into it. And it's actually pretty spooky. Like, it already had like a pretty dark, dark fantasy type themes. You can probably tell from just by looking at it. It kind of delved into a little bit of like eldritch type stuff where, like horrible creatures and no one can leave this island. There's like a big curse and no one can leave this island. Big ghoulish creatures from the sea are ravaging the shores and stuff like that. Which is like pretty cool. You don't see a lot of horror style RPGs like this, and it actually is a bit unnerving in certain scenarios because you'll be presented small like horror stories in these full screen story sections where you have to make decisions. It's really cool. There's an early section of the game where there's like basically one of the first scenarios of a dungeon in the game. You go up to this like ramshackle like hut and farm that someone's at, and this like, hermit. It's like, there's my neighbor crying at the well. She says that there's voices of children laughing in the well. And you go to the woman and she's like, I hear my children in the well. They went down there so long ago. I know they're gone. I know it's not them, but it's driving me crazy. So like you're like, all right. So you go down to the well, and then there's like this fungus growing around like all across the well, and you're just like, ooh, this is disgusting. And you get to the end of the dungeon, and this fungus that's like speaking to you, and like it's telling you, asking you to touch it. It's like sneaking into your brain. It's like, touch me, touch me. You have to make like rolls to not touch it. At the very end of it, there's like this overgrown growth on the wall, and it's the skeletons of the woman's children, and you can take the skulls from it and give it to the mother so that she can bury them. But it's really interesting because like you get the skulls and you're like, oh, okay, I guess that's it. And then you go all the way back to the entrance, and you get this like full screen art of these like scary ghoul like plant children, like replicas of the children that were like absorbed in the fungus. Yeah, and you can do like a roll to like sneak past them, where you can just like bash their head in immediately. Or you can sneak past them, finish the quest, and then jump right back into the well and bash their head in. They are weak to holy magic, so that's how I got through that encounter. I just did holy hammer for like 30 damage, which is an absurd amount of damage, by the way, for that game. And it was just really cool. And there's lots of instances like that where you'll get like this really, really pretty full screen art that actually scared me. There's this really fucking funny one. Not funny, but there's a part where you can. This is a really unique part of the game, I would say, and it's also very early on. Again, I'm very early on, and I'm already seeing like a ton of things that I like. So that's why I'm really excited to play more. But there's a part where, and this is very D&D reminiscent for sure. There's a part where you're in these like underground caves, like these flooded caves, and there's a hole in the ground full of water that you can swim in, and you are presented with this like point and click style thing where you can like dive into the water, and then it presents you with full screen imagery of like the underwater caves with like holes and stuff, and it'll just give you cardinal directions to go in, and you have to wayfind from there. And then there's a limit. It'll say like 10 rounds of air remaining. So you kind of have to find your way through this underwater cave by making these choices and actually legitimately finding your way and using the cardinal directions and recognizing locations and landmarks just through the text boxes and the full screen art. And it's really, really cool. And there was two things that scared me in this section. I went into one section and there was a full screen art of this really scary like fucking moray eel that like pops out of like a wall and bites me and like goes back into into another hole, and it's like really scary. It's like really ghoulish like looking eel type thing. And then if you kind of explore further, you get full screen art of like a drowned body, but it doesn't really look like the guy drowned. It looks like the dude is like trapped in stasis, like underwater, like floating there with like seaweed like tied to his limbs and stuff like that. And you get like this petrified expression of this guy in like Commodore style like colors, very modern pixel art, but Commodore older computer style colors being used. And it's just his like petrified face on the full screen art. And I like jumped actually in real life when I saw that. It actually did genuinely scare the hell out of me.
I love that.
And it's full of stuff like that. I don't really know how long the game is. I hope it's a decent length, because I am really enjoying it. I'm hoping that it gets more in depth. I hope I am given more options. A tough thing about RPGs, I think, is that they really hold off on giving you options in combat when you first start playing them, and that can be really discouraging to play further. And I do think that Skald kind of has that issue where I feel like a lot of the places I'm turning to, I'm just simply not strong enough because I just don't have options in combat. And I feel like they could have improved on that, but I don't know. I might get to like the mid game and late game and be like, oh, okay, that wasn't that big of a deal. Or I might figure something out that makes it all make sense, but I don't really know yet. But all I know is that I am really enjoying it. I hope I continue enjoying it. It's definitely a unique game that I think if you're into that style of like classic computer RPG, and I love computer RPGs so much, you should check it out.
So it came out this year, right? Is it like out or is it early access?
Oh, it's out. It came out a couple of months ago. I think it came out in August. It came out recently. It's this year. Probably will make it on my games of the year 2024 just by virtue of it coming out in 2024.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unfortunately,
it seems like it's got a lot going on for it, and especially for a game of this scope but of this style, I'm surprised it isn't like an early access type deal, but I'm glad that the people are actually able to get things like this off the ground.
Yeah, I think it was in early access for a little while. I can check the actual like like the community page for it and say stuff. But yeah, I actually it's the damnedest thing that advertising works, because I saw this game on Reddit, on like a Reddit advertisement, and I was like, usually I get like the shittiest games ever on my Reddit advertising page. No shade to anyone who uses the Reddit advertising, but I really get like just not interesting games or just like silly looking games. But I saw this one and I was like, oh fuck, I might have to play this. This looks really cool. They
have a sick ass ad for this game where it's like a old school Halloween commercial where it's this dude doing an estate sale in like a creepy haunted house, and then this box like moves on its own and he cuts it open and he opens it up and it's like a copy of Skald, and it like zooms in on the cartridge, and it's like Skald against the Black Priory, and then it flies into the PC.
I'm looking at it. I'm like literally on the Steam page right now. This dude looks like he's straight from the 80s. This is cool as hell. I love this.
Yeah, that was the trailer I watched before this, and I was like, this is all I need to know that this game fucking rules, because it's like Jumanji.
Yeah, I think it's really, really sick. You should check out the first advertisement on the Steam page actually has the art of the dude who's drowned on it, if you want to check it out. Yeah, it's at like 12 seconds, and that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, I mean, I know you had it on here as like a spooky game, but whenever I looked at it, I was like, the Lovecraftian and everything, that's kind of overdone. I don't really know if it's that scary, but I'm glad you're saying it actually is.
Well, yeah, I mean, let me make it clear. It's not scary. I'm not like, oh my goodness. But it's spooky. It is Halloween. It's Halloween themed. Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
I think the thing you were talking about, how it's like the side quests, like especially the one with the mushroom kids and stuff. If that's where a lot of this like creepy horror stuff is located, and then the rest is kind of just like pixel combat, I think that's a good balance, because then it's like you can choose to engage with this like vibe that you want a little taste of without the whole game having to be like, look at this scary shit, it's so fucking scary.
It's atmospheric. That's how I would describe it. It's a popular user-defined tag, atmospheric. It has a very spooky, dark fantasy atmosphere that I really dig, and it's not really done. I feel like it's not done very much, because people usually go in one direction or the other, I feel like. Especially with horror games, it's not horror games with good gameplay are not uncommon, but sometimes you get a horror game that just gameplay optional.
Do you remember there was a game that was in a Nintendo Direct a while ago, and it was an indie game, and all it was like you had, I think it was like 8 or so little squares that had different game genres in it. And when you put them next to each other, you would play a game that was a combination of those two genres. You know what I'm talking about?
It's just that's what is it? Desktop God. What is that game?
Oh, Doodle God.
Doodle God, where you mix the elements together.
No, it'd be like you'd have like a square that said like racing and one that said roguelite.
No, yeah, I know, but that's what it reminds me of. No, okay. I've never heard of that.
Okay, well that's a thing, and I feel like this is like Jonathan's sitting in his room with his little squares going, all right, let me get CRPG, let me get horror, let me get a little bit of Fire Emblem, let me get a little bit of pixel graphics.
That's pretty much it. They basically did like they boiled me down into a demographic, and I am that. I certainly am that. That is my shit. The only thing that would make it better is if This is ridiculous because this could never happen. The only thing that it could make it better is if I could somehow play it on my Game Boy. I would eat that shit up. You know what game I bought on the Game Boy? Simply because I love the aesthetic. The Game Boy Advance version of Eye of the Beholder, and I need you to look it up right now. It's very similar in aspect. It is a CRPG on the Game Boy Advance, out of all things. Dungeon crawler. Yeah, isn't this crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it's dog shit. But I saw it at a game store, and it was like $11. But I saw it at a game store, and I was like, they got a CRPG for the Game Boy Advance. I was broke at the time, and I still fucking bought it because I was like, there's no way I'm missing out on this. I love CRPGs, and then you put it on like old software, like handhelds, like hardware. I don't know. So it just like, I love that. I love that shit.
The cover for this game rules. It rules.
Oh yeah, it goes hard as hell. Sick ass fucking skeleton.
Yeah,
with the two guns.
Wait. Are you talking about Skald?
No. I'm talking about Eye of the Beholder.
Where do you see skeleton with two guns?
No, that's what I'm just that's what I'm just comparing it to.
Okay.
You ever see the images of like sick ass skeleton with guns, and it's like I shit my pants. Born to shit, forced to wipe. That's what this is reminiscent of. This is just actual. I'm pretty sure this is just actual official D&D Beholder art, like 3rd edition or something Beholder art. Because Beholders are sick as fuck.
It's true,
and that's what they look like. So, but yeah, apparently the game's shit.
Yeah. Well, maybe you'll play that and get back to it.
Oh, I will play it because I'm looking at it right now. I'm in love with it. Ah.
So I'm gonna put Skald on my wish list.
It's pretty cheap. It's pretty cheap.
It is. It's like what, $14.99 MSRP.
Yeah,
It's not bad at all. But I just, it's not exactly a Jake game, but it's got the hooks. Like I could see myself really getting into a game like this, but it would have to be the perfect circumstance.
Yeah, there is I'll tell you when I see a very beautiful woman, and I'll take a picture and send it to you.
That would be the very specific circumstance.
Yes, I know.
All right.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Are you confident in giving it a number, or are you
no
too early?
It's way too early on. It could be total shit.
Yeah.
It could end up being total shit. I've had it happen before.
Feeling. You're like, wow, this game's really good. Oh no.
Better stay like that. Well, you know what? Because it's teetering a fine line. I can see the flaws, and I'm like, okay, well, they better fix it. They better fix this soon. Like I'm, wagging my finger. No, it's actually not that deep. The flaws actually really aren't that bad, but I can see. I'm like, I hope they don't get worse. Like, if they didn't get better, that's one thing. If they get worse, oh boy. But I don't know. It's pretty good. But no, I would not give it a rating quite yet. Okay. It's too early.
Okay. Give us an update one day.
Yes, I will. All
right. I'm going to talk about Darkwood now.
Okay.
I've been playing this game, and I want you to know that I did give Crow Country the college try on your recommendation.
Oh.
I played the demo. It's just not... It was hitting, but it wasn't scratching the itch that I had.
Well, guess who bought it because they don't believe in demos?
What do you mean you don't believe in demos?
I hate demos.
Whoa.
No. I've told you about this.
Well, clearly I blocked it out of my memory because it's a ridiculous take to have.
It is a ridiculous take. It is a mentally ill take. So you really can't get too upset with me because that is kind of ableist. It is a mentally ill person take because I don't like the idea of getting a demo and then like I use storage space for a demo and then like I don't know, the game is like, I like the game and then I have to play the game again, or like I'd rather just take the time to just actually play the game, like the full game. Like, it just fucks up my vibe. It's a mentally ill person thing.
Okay. Well, in that case,
wouldn't get it. You're
I won't
perfect.
rush you too hard about it. But yeah. 9 times out of 10 nowadays, the save transfers over to the game.
That's true. They do that now. That is completely true. I would admit, for a game like this, that's more reasonable because the actual full game is probably like, I don't know, 20 megabytes.
And is it like 2 hours or so? So like, the demo can't be that long.
Oh, the demo? I have no idea.
No, I mean, like, isn't Crow Country? I think it's only like 2 or 3 hours long.
Really? Hold on.
I think so.
I thought it was like at least 6. It's about 5 hours. Yeah.
But like it is definitely a game I want to play. I already knew that because like I'm super into like the throwback survival horror for some reason, even though I wasn't around whenever those were a thing. But it's just like I don't know. I got into the opening level and I walked around for a little bit and it was all crunchy and the voice acting was all distorted and like that. Those are all good things. I was like, I'm just not feeling it right now. So I passed on that one.
Yeah, I understand.
But I did mention Darkwood on the last one, so I had already bought it. So I was like, well, let me try this next. And then this one is fulfilling what I was looking for.
I thought Darkwood was a roguelike for the longest time. It's not.
Well, so you said that on the last episode, and I
did?
You did, and because I was like, I'm playing the Darkwood, and you're like, isn't that a roguelike? I was like, no, I hope not. I didn't get that vibe from the trailer, so I looked it up.
Yeah.
It isn't. I guess we would have to go back and listen to the experts, Jake and Jonathan, from like 6 months ago, talk about the definition of roguelike. But it's a roguelike. It's not a roguelike, but it has the elements in the way that like a Don't Starve is a roguelike, where like you could play that game for like 20 hours and then restart and everything's completely different. You know what I mean? Where it's a survival game in its DNA, but it's one of those survival games that you either finish it or die horribly. It's not like Minecraft where you kind of can just keep going forever.
Right. If you die, do you have to restart from the beginning?
No, but kind of. So the general pitch, Darkwood is a top-down survival horror game, but it's like a survival game that is a horror game. Not that we need to have this whole discussion again. But it's like you're collecting resources and crafting, and trying to survive against not hordes, but horrible enemies. And
Right.
so I was under the impression that it was permadeath, but it is not. There is a permadeath mode that you can activate, and there's also a hard mode that gives you a finite number of lives. But the default mode is more forgiving than I think it should be. And the reason I say that, because I would never say that. You know that. I play games on like normal.
That is kind of
easy.
crazy.
So this game has a really unique day-night cycle mechanic where it's daytime for probably about like 11 or 12 minutes, and then it's nighttime for like 5 minutes. And if you are out, you have like a hideout in the center of the map. And if you are not in the hideout when nighttime starts, then you're gonna die. Because these crazy, strong, and scary enemies come out of the woods to attack you, unless you're at your hideout, because your hideout has like this gas that keeps them away or whatever.
Gas, you say?
But so the reason I think it should be permadeath is because at nighttime, you have to hold up in your house, and you don't like go to sleep. You have to stay in your house, hunkered down for like 5 minutes, which doesn't sound like a lot. But it's kind of an immersive sim as well, in that you can like move furniture around to barricade the doors, and you can move lamps around to like put light in strategic places so that you can see certain things, because it's like Hotline Miami style.
Right.
But for those whole 5 minutes, these things are trying to break into your house, and if you die at nighttime, it skips you straight ahead to the next morning, whereas if you die during the daytime, you just respawn back at your house and you can continue on. And
I have, in fact, watched Jerma play a lot of Darkwood, so I do have a very strong visual of all of this, coupled with Jerma going, ooh! So...
I'd never seen it. I'd never heard of it. I just one day saw it on Steam, and I was like, that looks really interesting, so I'm going to try it out.
It's been out for a little while now, right?
Yeah, it's a couple of years. It's one of those wiki games where like there's a ton of documentation about this stuff. But my thing was so it's like on a day cycle. So like you'll do this whole thing I was talking about, and then it'll be like day 2, day 3. I got to probably about day 6 without dying, so I didn't know what the death penalty was going to be. For all I knew, it could have been permadeath. You just drop half of your stuff, and that's all you lose whenever you die. If you die at nighttime, it skips you ahead to the next morning, and the downside to that is that if you survive the night, you get 100 tokens to spend with the traders, which is where all the really good stuff is. So really... you can die as many times as you want and be fine. And it kind of took the wind out of my sails, because for those first 6 days, every night I'm holed up in this house, like terrified for my life, because I don't know what's about to happen. And there's a lot to this game. It's very meaty, so I don't want to harp on it too long, but like there's a lot that needs to be discussed.
Oh, it's on sale right now for like $3.
I mean, this really, really is a Jonathan-ass game.
Looks like I'm getting it.
It's got elements of FTL. It's got a lot of like, Hotline Miami, obviously, to it. It's kind of a stealth game in certain situations. I don't know how you feel about stealth
port
games.
FTL to Switch. Port it to somewhere.
Please.
What is going on? You're telling me
on Switch?
Into the Breach is on Switch, and then you're like, perfect. Well, you know what? I just realized right now that whole game is operated on a mouse. I don't know how they would. They would have to do a lot. Yeah, but like, what if you want to play it on your TV? The game just won't work.
Yeah, I don't know. Use the pointer.
Whatever.
Or gyro or whatever.
Anyway, what'd you say?
So.
Said it was a Jonathan game that I'm currently putting into my cart and buying right now.
I mean, I really do think that you would get a lot out of it. I don't know if I would recommend playing it on hard just yet in like your first playthrough, because for me, those first 6 days were a lot more tense. My heart, it was the first time playing a game that my watch did that thing where it's like, you're working out, great job, keep going, because my heart rate was so high at night. It's never happened to me.
Jesus.
But once I found out that you can kind of just die as many times as you want and there's not really a downside, it kind of took away a lot of the tension. But at the same time, this game's long. Like a single playthrough can be upwards of 20 hours if you take your time with it. So I kind of think that you need that crutch to be able to just finish it. And then once you know what's going on, maybe then I can go back for a second playthrough with like the hard mode or whatever. Because these maps are large. And with only 11 minutes in a day, you got a lot of ground to cover to collect resources and find all these side quests to do. And you get the complete freedom to take your time and do it at your own pace, which I definitely recommend because there is a lot of optional content that is really scary and really rewarding with, you know, challenging combat and like good rewards for it. But the main hook, the driving force is that it's a very simple story where you lost something to a crazy person and you need to find out where he is and try and get it back. And that's all the information they give to you. And the rest of the story kind of happens to you rather than you progressing through anything, because you don't really have any say on when or where you're going to encounter NPCs because the map is randomly generated. And you're kind of just exploring out there for resources like it's a regular survival game until you come upon a camp or a shed of some type where you know there's a character in there. And once you get there, there's a lot of context clues, a lot of lore stuff that'll kind of point you in the right direction to either finish this side quest or progress the main quest. But it all feels just as important as the others. Like, there's some side quests that I've done that I could have sworn I was doing to progress the main quest because they seem so fleshed out and important, and then they resolve with you getting a ton of resources, and I'm like, wow, that didn't necessarily get me to my goal, but I'm certainly more well off now and ready to take on the rest of the challenges, which is very rewarding.
Me when I get a minimum wage job.
Me when I work at McDonald's.
McDonald's.
And yeah, it's really fun to just play this as like a regular survival game, and then occasionally remember like, oh wait, this is like a story game. Like there's a quest I should be doing, and then go off and do that.
I love the art and I love the designs of like the creatures and stuff like that, and I love that type of thing.
Right. Yeah. I guess to set the tone for anyone who isn't watching the video version, it's Poland, I believe. It takes place in Poland, and it's like this plague that caused the forest to become so overgrown that no one can escape the forest. And at
that's just what Poland's like.
I mean, you're right.
It just looks like
real
that.
Life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it caused this. I haven't really gone that far to know what it is, but it causes these creatures to come about that are like people that kind of like zombified, but like by the forest. Like they got branches sticking out of them. And then there's like dogs that have these crazy like welts and stuff and like mushrooms growing on them. And that's the first area. And there's 3 areas. And I just so much as dipped my toe into the 3rd area. And as soon as I got there, I was greeted with one of the most horrifying enemy designs I have ever seen in a video game. Worse than anything I saw in Silent Hill. Like, it is disgusting. And it started chasing me and murdered me. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go chop down some trees and do some survival game for a little bit and not go over there right now.
Downloading horror, secret horror mods into your Minecraft server.
Yeah.
You don't tell any of your friends.
The most horrifying creature of all time.
I love that shit. I love that type of shit.
Yeah, but speaking to the horror, I guess there's a lot of moments already. I'm probably about 8 hours in, so a little bit less than halfway, I guess, through the game, and there's been a lot of side quest moments and main quest moments that are just like petrifyingly disturbing. But for the most part, the game isn't really that scary. You're kind of just walking around, and it has good sound design, so you'll hear like a grunt or a footsteps or whatever, and you're like, let me just avoid that. But then you get to these quests, and like, there's one that's like, it's not like disturbing in the way that I'm gonna like think about it whenever I close my eyes, but I am like, ugh, like I did not want to see that.
Yeah.
And
the art is really disgusting.
Mm-hmm. It's all these things that like you look online for this stuff on the Reddit or the wiki, and you see people talking about these like iconic moments. Like they are really memorable and petrifying in the best way possible. And the last thing I think I'll note is that although the resources are finite, like it's not like Minecraft where you can just keep going forever, so you will eventually run out of resources. They are very plentiful, and if you play your cards patiently, you're gonna be fine no matter what. But it doesn't necessarily encourage you to use all of your resources right away or at all. You can kind of make a build or make a play style based on what you find. But something that I find really fascinating is that there's a lot of immersive sim elements to this game that I wasn't expecting for the style of controls that it is, really, because it's like this top-down, isometric type game. But so just as an example of what I mean, there was a night where I had fucked up and I got back to my house way too late, so I didn't have time to barricade everything. So I essentially just bear trapped one room completely. So if anything went into that room, I would know because I would hear the bear traps, even though I couldn't see it. And then with the other exit, I didn't have time to barricade it, and there was a bathtub and a chair in my room. So I pushed the bathtub to like a wedge against the door, and then pushed the chair up against that. And I just held on, like you have like a grab and pull mechanic. I held on and pushed the bathtub against the door all night. And eventually these monsters are like banging down the door, and it's pushing the bathtub and then pushing me back into the room, and I just have to keep holding it shut. And eventually it becomes too much, and 3 of these dudes bust in and they push the bathtub so far that I get shoved back and they all run into the room, and it's like 1 minute until morning. So I'm like, oh fuck, what am I gonna do? And so I managed to escape out the exit and then run them all through the bear traps. So now I have to just sit there and look at them for 1 minute, and then the sun comes up and everything's fine. And it's like problem solving like that is plentiful. And so there was another time where I found a randomly generated event that was a cottage, and there's all these like burnt down houses and whatnot that you can kind of go scavenge. So I didn't really think too much of it, but I went in, and as I'm like poking around, going through drawers and like getting bandages and stuff, a door pops open from the top of the screen and goes like the creaking.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's weird, but I'm gonna check it out, I guess. So I go up, and as soon as I enter the room, the lights shut off to the entire building, and then I start getting fucked up, and I can't see what's going on, so I managed to pull out my flashlight, and there's a dude in there that was waiting for me, and he kills me. So I come back the next day to get my stuff, and I go in the house, and no one's there. I like double check all the corners and whatnot. He's not in that room, so I'm like, okay, he must be gone. So I go into that room to get my backpack, and then he shuts the door on me and nails it shut. So now I'm in this room with no way out. I don't have any like hammer or nails to break down the door. I have nothing to break down the door. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm just going to have to wait here forever? Like, am I soft locked? Or am I going to have to wait until monsters come in and break down the door and get me? Like, I have no way out of this. I'm fucked. So I go through my inventory and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? So I find rocks. I'm like, okay, maybe if I throw the rocks at the door, no, that didn't work. Okay, I have a bear trap. Maybe I can like bear trap myself, and then when I free myself, it'll like knock me on the other side of the door because there's like a falling forward animation, and that didn't work. So I'm like, okay,
so you bear trapped yourself just to just let me try to bear trap myself.
Listen, it was worth a try.
Yeah.
But I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna wait until I die, because there's no hunger or thirst or anything, so I'm just gonna have to wait until something kills me. So I just set down my Steam Deck and went on my phone for a few minutes, and then I was like, wait a second. So I go back in and I equip a gas tank that I had to fill up my generator. I equip it, which I had never thought to do, because why would I equip it? I'm like, can I pour gas on the ground? And I can, and it does like the trail thing, like from Postal or whatever.
Right.
And then I have a flare, so I use that to burn the door down, and then I was free, and I was able to get out of there, and I never went back. But it was like that, those moments of immersive, like emergent puzzle solving are really, really satisfying, and it makes the game a lot more in-depth and a lot more high quality, in my opinion.
I do like games that give you stories like that. I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm excited to finish it. Like I said, I probably have about half the game left, but I'm definitely going to see it through even after spooky season ends. It's really tense, though. It's like when you play Bloodborne for the first time, you really got to be in the mood, because it's really tense.
Oh, I don't need to be in a mood for Bloodborne, honey.
I'm saying the first time you played it, you gotta be in the right mindset to deal with all
It
that.
puts me in the mood, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Sexually.
Okay.
Sex.
Yeah, he said it.
Anyway, you know what game is not about sex but does have a day-night cycle? Majora's Mask.
Arguable.
What do you mean arguable? There is a day and night cycle.
Oh, I meant
it's
about the
very
sex.
clear. Oh, about the sex. Nah, there's no sex in that game. I was trying to think. I'm like, is there any moment where like there is sex or implied sex? And now there is a lot of implied death. There's actually on-screen death. Like, the most hilarious thing in any Zelda game is that you can just kill someone, and it's really funny. Do you know about that?
I don't think so.
On the first night, at like 12:30 at night in North Clocktown, an old woman will get robbed by the thief Sakan, and the old woman is she runs the bomb store, so her bags are full of bombs, and if you shoot the thief with the bow and arrow, he blows up and dies, and he like. It's not. There's no like. It's like he explicitly dies. He's dead. He old school like Zelda blows up and like just doesn't leave a corpse. Like his model just blips out of existence when he blows up, and he does not appear for the rest of the game, or for the rest of the day. For the rest of the 3-day cycle, if you do that, he literally dies. You can just kill him. And it's so fucking funny. Every time. I do it every time I have the opportunity to, because I think it's so fucking funny.
That is funny.
And then the woman just goes, "Oh, that was our stock of bombs."
Yeah, you got them back.
Yeah. I'll just need to send you. You might have to play a video of it on screen, because I really do think it's the funniest shit ever.
Okay.
That was my highlight for the game on my review.
So this isn't your first time playing Majora's Mask, right? Played it.
No, this is my third time playing Majora's Mask, actually. But this is the first time I'm playing it, and like I 100%ed it this time, and I was really paying attention. And it's good. It's a weird game. I think we all know that Majora's Mask is just a fucking strange game. It is the before Breath of the Wild came out, it is the most unlike a Zelda game has been, and it's like the most unique Zelda game I think out there right now, because of its like circumstances that it was made, because it was made in about a year and it was super rushed. Almost all the assets are, not almost all of them, but like a ton of assets are taken directly from Ocarina of Time. Even some characters from Ocarina of Time appear, like Koume and Kotake, which are the two witches, the fire and ice witches that are one of the final bosses of the game. They appear, and they're like the mothers of Ganondorf. They're like main villains of the game. They appear in Majora's Mask, and they are Koume and Kotake. They are those characters, but they're just like, they're fine. They're just nice witches who make potions in the woods, and it's just like, who gives a shit? And it's like, whatever. And there's Tingle.
Love Tingle.
Everyone loves Tingle. But yeah, it's a weird game. Have you played Majora's Mask?
I played a lot of Majora's Mask. I got Majora's Mask 3D on launch day. Played probably about like 10 hours of it, which is probably a lot of it, but I never finished it. I didn't really get it. I mean, I get it, but I didn't like it.
It is kind of... It's weird. It's structured very strange. I don't think it holds a candle to Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time is like my favorite thing ever. And there's just, like Ocarina of Time has this formula that I love. It has so many dungeons. I'm in love with like the overworld and all of that stuff. The overworld isn't very impressive in Ocarina of Time, I would say. Like highly in Fields is just like, there's nothing really in it. And the side quests are really just like, get this. Oh, you found this. Here's this. But in Majora's Mask, like the world of Termina has so much story, so much detail and culture, like real culture. I feel like Zelda games don't really have like a sense for the culture of certain places, like just such a strong identity for these people and these NPCs and what they're living in. Besides like very simple sort of surface value traits, like, oh, the Rito are bird people and they deliver mail. And that's what they do. You know, the Gorons are rock people and they eat rocks, and that's what they do. But actually, like, Termina is very, very detailed. Almost every NPC in the game is, or at least the ones in Clocktown, they have like a name, they have a schedule, they have a function, they have reactions, they have quests, they have feelings and emotions, and they are different throughout the 3 days. And they're different if you do their quests or not. If you do their quests in like a certain way, they can be different. And it's all under this blanket of this 3-day cycle, which is, you know, it's the first time any game has done that, I think. And it's really the first time I've seen it as like a concept. I mean, you know, Groundhog Day did it, and that was like really, really popular of it. But Zelda, like, Groundhog did it for movies. But Majora's Mask did it for games, and we don't see it very often in games, but it is certainly in video games.
For some reason. Whenever Returnal and Deathloop and that other Going Under one came out.
Yes, that is true. But Deathloop was probably the closest, I think, to matching the Majora's Mask formula, given the fact that it's like, you know, Deathloop, you don't have 3 days, but you have 3 blocks of time, and then, you know, you reset a single day, you know, and it's not even a roguelike. It's all about like the knowledge you get and progressing further, sequentially or just like slowly progressing further, all that type of shit. And Majora's Mask does it very, very well. The whole like the moon crashing down is just absurd.
Scary face on the moon.
Yeah, giant scary face on the moon that no one ever mentions. By the way, no one's ever like, I think only a couple characters will be like, yeah, that's weird. That doesn't look good. But like, no one's ever like, that's fucked up. I've never seen that before, ever. We need to go. So they're just like, oh, that's weird. And the game looks gorgeous. The Majora's Mask 3D looks just absolutely stunning. Every single area, every single texture, every single character looks amazing. They look so good. It looks better than Ocarina of Time 3D even. There's just so much atmosphere and detail and personality in every area that the game just looks so stunning. So stunning. And like the combat is a bit better. The transformation masks are really fun, if not underutilized. The only thing that really like does not make it a perfect for me and does not make it a 10 out of 10 for me, or even a 9 out of 10, is that there's not many dungeons, and a lot of your time is spent just like going towards dungeons. You know, like you're just running back and forth certain areas, like when you need to get to the dungeon, like that's a lot of like running back and forth certain areas. The actual main quest, I think, is kind of weak in that aspect. The game really shines in its side quests and worlds, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's what people always talk about with Majora's Mask, is like just living in the world and seeing everyone's day, night schedules and everything. And then I think the dungeons and the bosses and everything kind of take the sidecar in terms of like modern conversation around it. But I don't know. You just played it, so I don't. You know, however it stacks up for you.
Well, they fucked it up. They really fucked up the 3D version. They actually like legit. I haven't played the original. But like understanding the comparisons and seeing what they changed, I'm like, oh, they fucked a lot of this up. Actually, they changed every boss encounter. They changed every boss encounter. In the original Majora's Mask, you can really, the bosses were really, you kind of dictated the ebb and flow of combat, which is very non-Zelda. Usually Zelda games, or at least Ocarina of Time, there's a lot of waiting for the enemy to be open, and then you have to do the thing that leaves it vulnerable, and then you attack it, and and do that cycle 3 times, and then it'll die. Majora's Mask did not do that. I think the best example is like the first boss, Adalwa. You can take him on in like so many different ways. It's really just like a straight up like 1v1 battle where a lot of different tactics works out, and then they changed it in 3D where every boss has like this eyeball weak point that you need to make vulnerable. Aldolwa is suddenly like completely immune to you shooting like your bow and arrow, or like running up to him and attacking him, like rolling through his legs and attacking him. The game wants you to switch into Deku form and then shoot out the flower and then drop a Deku nut on his eyeball, and then he gets stunned, and then you can attack him. And every boss basically does this. They fucked up Georg, the fish boss, because in his second phase he smashes the platform that you're on, and you have to do the last phase. You have to do the second phase in Zora form, which isn't necessarily like that bad, but it ruins the concept of the Fierce Deity Mask, which is the whole point of the Fierce Deity Mask, is that once you get all the masks and you do this little side quest, you get the Fierce Deity Mask, and you can only use it in boss fights, and you just shred bosses to death, and then, they make it so Georg puts you in water and you can't use the Fierce Deity Mask, so it's like, well, what the fuck was the point? And then they do the same exact thing with Twin Mold, which is the last dungeon boss in the game, where you used to be able to fight Twin Mold with because Twin Mold is a gigantic boss. It's 2 giant worms, kind of reminiscent of the big worm boss in Shadow of the Colossus. And you can fight him as small, regular young Link, shooting bow arrows at it from the ground at its like giant eyeballs. But something that makes the fight much more easier and more, I guess, engaging, would be if you found the stone mask as an optional, the Giant's Mask as an optional find in the Stone Tower Temple. You can grow really big and then fight it as like a giant Link with your sword and shield and shit like that. But in 3D, they changed it so that in the second phase of the boss fight, you have to get the Giant's Mask. It just spawns in the boss fight, and then you put it on, and Link is in this like new form where he's like a big giant, but he cannot use his sword and shield. He has this new moveset where he uses his fists, and his fists have like 0 fucking range. And it's really frustrating to try to deal with like the small enemies that Twin Mold spawns. And then once you kill the first Twin Mold, you have to do wrestling moves on the last Twin Mold, and it's really unintuitive with how it explains that you need to do like this like Mario 64, grab it by the tail, spin it around, and slam it into the floor. Like, hold on, I'm choking on my disgruntledness. Give me 1 second.
This man is disgruntled.
I am, because the game, you can look up right now on Google, like Majora's Mask 3D Twin Mold boss fight, and you'll get like game facts. Yeah. Majora's Mask 3D Twin Mold, you'll get like game facts immediately, being like, what's wrong with this boss? How the hell do you kill Twin Mold? Is like one of the first like results I get, because it's super long. You do like the wrestling move, you do this like weird cutscene on this wrestling move like over and over again. And it doesn't kill it, and you're just like, what the fuck? The game doesn't tell you that you have to, like, move faster by circling the circle pad, and then you do more damage when you do that. The game doesn't really tell you that, and that's what you have to do to make it go faster, but even then, it's just, like, such a pain in the ass to actually, like, smack it down and then, and like, run to it. It's just not fun. And you also can't use the Fierce Deity Mask for that section either. So it's like, why did I get the Fierce Deity Mask if you're gonna actually remove the options for me playing it? Like, what are we doing here? I just don't understand why they did that. But don't worry, guys. They added an optional fishing hole. They added 2 new fishing holes. And no, I was so excited for that, and I was actually gonna delve like so much time into it, but it really is just the fishing from Ocarina of Time, which is not good. At all. Have you ever done the fishing minigame in Ocarina of Time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not that great.
No, there's 1 fish to get. You just do it once, especially when you... I mean, I spent a lot of time with it as a kid because it's very simplistic. You just throw your bobber in, and then you, like, wiggle your bobber around, and then a fish grabs onto you, and then you just hold back the stick for, like, a minute and a half until the fish gets reeled in. But you only really do it a couple times because then you get like the biggest fish. You ebb out. You feel out where you get the biggest fish. You get the biggest fish and then you leave and you get your rewards and you don't come back. But in Majora's Mask 3D, they added like 30 unique species of fish. But all of them have like unique conditions where you're like, you have to wear this mask and it only shows up at this day when you wear this mask and it's on this part of the fishing hole, only in this fishing hole. And we're not going to tell you how to get any of these requirements. You probably should just look up a guide for it, and there's no reward for getting any of this shit. And there's no real like fishing index or anything to show you like what you've caught or to examine like the species. So really, it's like a go fuck yourself fishing minigame.
Well, it was that time when every game had to have a fishing minigame.
Oh, I love a fishing minigame. I eat a fishing minigame up, even if it's not very good. But I find that the Ocarina of Time Majora's Mask fishing minigame is too tedious and too boring for even me to enjoy playing it, and which is really disappointing because the only other place you can use the Fierce Deity's mask besides boss fights is the fucking fishing holes, if you can believe it. Ain't that some shit?
Well, they knew they were taking time away with it, so they needed to add more in somewhere.
It's just really weird that they make these changes. And then they also made really bizarre changes to, first of all, Deku Link has this really weird, like, acceleration to him that no other character has, and no other Zelda game has ever done any form of acceleration when you move. But for some reason, Deku Link has an acceleration. You need to like build up speed for like half a second before you move at top speed. And if you haven't played Majora's Mask, you don't know this, but that actually really fucks with how Deku Link like moves about the world, because you hop on water, and if you don't have enough momentum, you just like fizzle out and fucking like die in the water immediately. And that happens all the time because of this weird change that they made for seemingly zero reason. Just no one knows why they did it. Another thing they changed was that Zora Link doesn't swim fast all the time. Whenever you want to swim fast, you have to use magic. And whenever the magic depletes very, very fast, and you can run out of it very fast, and it's kind of hard to re-get magic in certain areas when you're Zora Link. So you might want to like have fun swimming around as Zora Link, but you find out that you want to save your magic because there might be a section later down the line where you need magic and then you're out of magic, and then you need to leave the area and go find a magic jar, and that ruins your momentum. So you're like, okay, I guess I won't do this fun thing. And instead I'll move really slowly. I'll swim really slowly through the bay so I can save my magic. All because someone at Grezzo changed the Zora swimming for no reason. Just no reason why they made this change. They made a change that it was like objectively worse. What type of shit is that?
Yeah, that's weird. I've only ever played 3D and I never really looked up the differences. I didn't realize they made that many changes. And that's kind of wild that they're all kind of like
bad
sidesteps. Like I don't know what they think they're trying to improve, but they're just making it different.
I don't know either. A YouTuber that I admire greatly, I wish I could review games like him, talked about Majora's Mask 3D. His name is Nerrel, Nerrel, and it's probably one of the best reviews I've ever seen. He's one of the best reviewers I've ever seen. I love him so much. I admire him so deeply, and I think about his Majora's Mask video a lot, and I was like, yeah, he's a little bit of a hater sometimes, so maybe he's not right. But after playing this, I was like, oh yeah, this is ridiculous. I haven't even played the original, and just like knowing that this doesn't happen in the original, I'm like, fuck this.
Well, I mean,
but it's good.
You were talking about how you really liked it, and then talked about all the things you hate. So now I'm just confused.
Well, because the things I like, it's just like, how do I describe? Like, it's just a really good Zelda game. It's just a good Zelda game. It's not the best Zelda game I've ever played. It's not even. It's Majora's Mask probably isn't even in my top 5. But it's good.
Yeah,
you know,
there aren't that many bad Zelda games.
There's not that many bad Zelda games, but I don't know. I always gave Majora's Mask 3D a 7, which is like low for a Zelda game, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
but I gave it an 8 instead. I just 100%ed it yesterday. I gave it an 8 because the ending really got me this time, because you really get to know these characters actually throughout your 3-day cycle over and over again while you do that 3-day cycle. And the ending cutscene, when you get all the masks, it'll show a unique scene for who you helped out to get that mask. If you don't get the mask during the cutscene, it'll just show like a blank. It'll just show a black background with the mask spinning around to show that like that's a mask you missed. But when you get all the masks, you get all these scenes played out sequentially of like all these people that you helped and like them celebrating the Carnival of Time after the moon gets destroyed, and it's really very touching. I actually teared up quite hard.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, most Zelda games, they do it. They know how to do it.
I don't know. I don't really tear up at the end of Zelda games because usually there's a very happy ending and it's just like it's like that was a grand adventure, wasn't it? Wasn't that awesome? Like, yeah, that was fucking awesome. But Majora's Mask is there's like a melancholy to there's a touching aspect to it, I think, because you're just like all these people who were suffering so hard for 3 days and we're like, we're gonna fucking explode and die in 3 days, and we all know it's gonna happen, but we're kind of pretending that it's not gonna happen and hoping that it's not gonna happen. Now it's not happened, and everyone's like having fun, and Link leaves at the end. I don't know, so that got to me. I was like, oh. It's also something that's really interesting about Majora's Mask is that it's all a dream. Do you know that?
No, I didn't.
It's not real. It's the world of Termina is not a real world. It is a. They don't really say this in game, but it's kind of they say it in the Hyrule Historia, because it's a parallel world to Hyrule. That's why so many of the characters are like doppelgangers and variations of characters you see in Hyrule, because it's born. The world of Termina is born from the memories of Skull Kid and I think maybe a little bit of Link. Because Skull Kid's the one who puts on Majora's Mask and kind of like creates the world of Termina, and they're all like his memories in a way, like warped of Hyrule. Because it is the same Skull Kid from Ocarina of Time, actually. That's confirmed at the end of the game. And in the Hyrule Historia, it says that Termina vanishes soon after Link leaves because it never really existed. And that's like, I really like that for some reason. I don't really know why, but I just think that's really interesting.
Zelda lore is at its best whenever they actually try. maybe
yeah,
there's
no, they
to
really
them
did try.
cooking.
They really, really did try on this because I think they knew that, like, I mean, the dude who made it was like tearing his fucking hair out. Like, I don't remember the name of the guy who made Zelda, but the guy who makes Zelda. Like, I know Miyamoto made Zelda, but like the guy who was in charge of it for years after it really started picking up. I forgot the name of him.
Yeah, it's not Aonuma. There was someone else in the middle there.
I think it is it is Eiji Aonuma. It is.
Yeah. I know there was another director that did some of the Zelda games, but I'm not super familiar with who did which ones and whatnot.
Yeah. It is Aonuma for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that guy was like tearing his fucking hair out making that game. Yeah, he didn't like it. I like, you should again watch the Narrow video. It says that Aonuma like just doesn't really like Majora's Mask.
Oh man.
So, and then like when he was making Majora's Mask 3D, he was like, maybe I can fix it to the way I wanted it to be, and then he like fucked it up. But live you learn. I don't know. I really like Majora's Mask. I love the story, which is like, it's really not why you like a Zelda game half the time. It's for its story.
Yeah.
Usually its story is like kind of hit or miss.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I really vibe with what they put down on Majora's Mask.
Cool.
Yeah.
Think we'll ever get Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask on Switch?
Nah.
I mean, they
I don't think it's
kind
gonna
of are,
happen.
I guess. Switch Online, but.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't think we're gonna get 3D or HD on Switch. It was really unfortunate because that is like how I see the game now. Both of those games are so beautiful. Majora's Mask specifically, just fucking gorgeous, dude. Like one of the prettiest games on. I think the best looking game on 3DS is Majora's Mask 3D, 100%.
I mean, I'm not super impressed with it, to be honest with you.
Really?
It's a 3DS remake of a N64 game. They made it look a lot better, but I don't think it holds up to like some of the other 3DS games.
I don't know. I disagree. I think once you actually playing it on your 3DS, like it just looks so good. And also that like the new batch of artwork they made for the game is the best fucking Zelda art ever.
That is good. Like the 2D art, you mean?
Yeah, the 2D art that they made for it is so good. Specifically the cover art where it's Link standing on the the clock on the clock in Clock Town, and he's holding up the Mask of Truth. Are you looking at it right now?
I know. I have the game. Yeah, that's a sick ass.
Oh
cover.
yeah, it is the sickest fucking cover, and like in the background, Skull Kid's dancing on top of the carnival clock, and the moon is like giving you the bombastic side eye in the background, and then you have all the 4 areas of Termina with all the characters. It is the best Zelda art.
That was one of those games where I went to GameStop and picked it up, and you look at it and you're like, oh shit, I'm in for something good with this one. Like I wasn't for my own personal taste, but like
for you,
just holding it and looking at it, you're like, oh my god.
It's also it's just hard as shit. I don't know, like just the look of the way they drew young Link on the cover with like him holding up the mask, like his finger placement, whereas like his 2 fingers are like spaced out, and it's like covering his mouth. He's kind of like looking down and like squinting. I don't know. There's like something about like that is a hard ass image. It's so high quality. Like if you find a high quality like version of it, it's just like the colors are great. I can gush over this artwork for days. I think it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it really is. 3DS cooked with their covers. Switch, I haven't felt too impressed with a lot of theirs, but the 3DS, almost every first-party 3DS game has a sick-ass cover.
Yeah, I just got my copy of Super Mario RPG on Switch today, and that cover, I know it's a throwback.
Yeah.
I know it's a throwback, but the cover art is so silly. It's so silly.
They couldn't have just done like what FF7 Remake did and make that like the inside cover and then have the outside be new artwork.
I don't know. It's, I mean, the problem is, I know you're appealing to all like the boomers who played Super Mario RPG when like in that cover, but the problem is they're all dead now. So it's just a bunch of Zoomers like us going like, what the fuck, dude?
3D models on white background. It's not the 2000s.
So funny. And they're all just like looking in one. They're just all in like their idle position and looking in one position. It's so stupid. So I can't. But yeah, it's fine.
All right, Jonathan, how are we feeling? We got some time left. Do you want to keep doing some reviews? This is a special episode and go a little bit long, or do you want to go into our spooky segment now?
It depends. What game? Do you have another game that you have to talk about that you're interested in? I only have Dead Space 2, and I can talk about that any fucking day of the week. So I could skip Dead Space 2 if you want to skip yours. Yeah. If you're not really interested.
I was gonna talk about the Alan Wake DLC, but I'm probably going to talk about that as a whole at the end of the year because it's kind of lumped with the other one. So yeah, I'll talk about that another time.
All right, I'll save Dead Space 2 until next week, until the next episode, because I love Dead Space 2.
Oh yeah,
yeah, but yeah.
All right,
let's move on.
All right, everyone.
Let's do a little not video games maybe.
Pull up a log to the fire. We're going to tell some scary stories. You know what's fucked up is I was camping this weekend. No one wanted to tell scary stories, so this is me fulfilling my dream.
Really?
No one.
Why? Because they were too scared?
I think because we were in the middle of the woods and it was really dark and really cold, and we kept hearing rustling in the woods, and I don't know. No one wanted to tell scary stories.
I could use a good fireside scare. I know it's a bad idea, and I would be like, oh, this is I fucking regret this. Because the woods scares me. My back to like the dark woods scares the shit out of me. But the vibes of telling scary stories in the dark in the woods, oh my god, immaculate.
You get like the shaky hands and you're like, I can't tell if it's because I'm cold or because I'm scared, but I don't really have a reason to be.
It's like you get shocked that you get scared because like you're with your friends and your friend is just telling you like a story that like normally wouldn't scare you or like freak you out, but you're just like, oh, it's awesome.
Yeah. All right, do you want to go first?
I think you should go first, actually.
Okay. So I'm gonna tell my story first, for like my real story, and then the next one I have is just like this creepypasta that really creeped me out.
Okay.
So my first story is something that actually happened to me, and I consider myself definitely a skeptic, but I'm more of like, it's not that I don't believe in ghosts and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of just like I don't really know what's going on. Like I don't think anyone really knows, and I don't think we ever will know. So I'm not going to try and ascribe any certain name or label to any weird occurrences that go on, because it could just be like.
I think you're looking for agnostic. That's a very agnostic view you have.
Yeah, I'm very para-agnostic when it comes to ghosts and stuff. Because you know, maybe it is, a dead guy that wants to murder me, but maybe it was just uh, I don't know, like a warm front came in at the wrong time and caused,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
try to keep an open mind, but also I'm not super scared of like paranormal stuff in my real life. But this is something that has kind of messed with me for most of my life, and I don't think I've told you about it because it's like not that scary. It's just one of those weird things that I can't shake. So whenever I was young, I used to go to a cabin in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, every year with my mom for Fourth of July. It was, I guess it wasn't a cabin, it was more of like a house in the woods that was for camping, and it
Okay.
was her friend's house. And we would always go up for Fourth of July the whole weekend, and it was usually my mom, her friends that lived there, and then like two or three other sets of friends, and all of them had kids. So I was the youngest, so I was probably like five to. I did this a couple years in a row, so probably like from when I was 5 until I was like 8 or 9. And the oldest was probably like 13, 14 maybe.
Okay.
And every year, even though we went up for Fourth of July, we would read scary stories to tell in the dark. It was just like a thing,
Mm.
and it creeped me out obviously because I was a child. But there was this house, this abandoned house, because we're in the middle of nowhere. So like, there's your neighbor lives like a mile away from you through cornfields type shit. But there was this abandoned house that was probably about half a mile down the dirt road from where this house was. There were no other houses around here, and it was just between this house and that abandoned house was just a giant overgrown field of like dead grass because it's just no one's taking care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And every year we would walk down to this house right as it was getting to be like dusk. And the story was that there was a teenager there who lived there at one point, and everyone called him Dumb Eddie. And so it was Dumb Eddie's
Jesus.
house.
Okay.
And I don't
It's like
remember.
fucking Boo Radley from
It
from
was
How to Kill a
It
Mockingbird.
was Boo Radley type shit because this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
The story was that this kid was just really dumb and didn't want to be a farmer, but his parents kind of made him. But he also wasn't smart enough to do anything for himself, and all of his friends at school and everything made fun of him. And I don't remember all the details, but the long and short of it was a double murder suicide with him and his parents.
Jesus Christ.
And that he killed his parents, and that no one found them for like years because no one ever visited that house, because this house wasn't owned by my mom's friends at the time. And so I don't know who lived at that house, but whoever it was wasn't checking on Dumb Eddie and his family.
Okay.
But it was abandoned, like it was completely falling apart. It was barely a house. But we would go down there at dusk, and it was only me and the kid, like the older kids would watch us kind of thing, because it was close enough that like the parents didn't feel like they had to come with us. As long as we didn't go in the house, that was the rule. So we would go down there,
Oh boy.
and it was getting dark, and then we'd kind of pull up to the house, and everyone would kind of do all right, we're here, it's Dumb Eddie's, that's it, and then they tell the story and everything. And then we would kind of just go back to the river house, the house we were staying at. And as we were getting back towards the house, above all this dead grass, these fireflies would come out every year. And I always like a little kid, so I was like, "Woo, fireflies! I love the fireflies!" And
That's what you sounded like?
yeah, when I was little, that's exactly how I sounded.
Okay.
But so the last year that I went, when I was 9, we decided that we were gonna go in the house because we were all old now.
That's a good idea.
We made this plan when we were on the way there because the house was abandoned and we knew it was abandoned. So we were just going to go in through the side door because it was always open. Like it was just swinging open. Meanwhile, this probably could have been like a drug den or like, any number of crazy things could have happened to us while we were in there. None of us were thinking about that. We were just like, we're going to go in and get scared.
Okay.
And so we made this plan to go in. We walked up, we went in, and then I remember walking up to this house. We walk up to the side door. I remember watching the older kids go in first. Then I went in, and then I turned around and looked and saw that the younger kids, not like younger than me, but the younger kids were coming in after me. And then my next memory is looking at fireflies. I don't remember being inside the house whatsoever, which in itself isn't that crazy because I was 9, I was dumb. But none of the other kids remember being in the house either. And like we talked about it that night, and we all remember going into the house, and then we remember walking home, but none of us have any memory of being inside the house.
Oh,
Yeah, and for some reason that has messed me up for like my entire life because it's not that scary, but it's one of those things that just doesn't make sense that none of us would remember. And like at first I thought maybe the older kids were like playing a prank on me or whatever, but I really don't remember being in that house, and the younger kids also don't. So to this day I have no idea what happened to us. Um
what the fuck?
and I tried to get in contact with some of these kids like a couple years later once I got like on Instagram and stuff, and I could just never
So
hunt
they went
them.
missing. You found out they went
Yeah, I
missing.
hope not. But I could never like get a hold of them. I'm sure if I asked my mom, she could just tell me like, "Oh yeah, here's their parents' number if you want to like talk to them." But I never like did it. So I don't know if that actually happened or what, but it always messes me up when I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it'll kind of ruin the mystery if you find out that like nothing happened.
Yeah,
Or
but
maybe
like,
something did happen.
but-
That's the question. Like, what maybe something did happen. You all like chose to forget it.
yeah, that's a thought that I've had in the past, is that maybe I like actually got traumatized and don't remember
Everyone,
it for
yeah.
that reason. But I don't think that would happen to. It was probably like 7 or 8 kids. Like, I don't think that would happen to everyone all at once.
I don't know. That's a good question. You never know though. It's unlikely. Yeah, but if like 7 young kids saw like a dead body, like randomly, unexpectedly saw a dead body, and then they were like they didn't really know what to do, so they didn't really call the police. They just kind of ran and were just like scared of getting in trouble or something, and they just all like universally forgot it. That would not put it past them.
Yeah, it's just for me, it's the thing that like I instantly forgot. Like I remember that night talking about it with the other kids about not remembering. So it's not like I blocked it out over years or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. I know it's
And,
not
and
that.
none of them were like, that's weird.
No, they all were like the exact same thing. They were like, "Yeah, I remember going in, but I don't what did you remember going in?" And it'd be like, "No, I went in and I remember the floorboards creaking, and then I remember we were looking at the fireflies." That was like the universal thing. It was like the next memory I had was looking up at the fireflies.
Jesus Christ.
And so it's not like super scary, but it's certainly the only paranormal experience I've ever had. And it really, maybe it's not paranormal, but weird experience like that, and it sticks with me.
Yeah, that's close enough to paranormal that you can get.
Yeah.
Something anomalous.
Yeah, maybe it was like old.
I like that
Maybe
word.
maybe they had the rocks from old in there, and we all
Oh
got
yeah.
sent out.
Instead of keeping you in, it keeps you out.
Mhm.
It's like the house that makes you forget.
That's my house whenever I have to do chores.
Yeah, maybe the whole world is the world that makes you old, and that house is actually you don't age at all in that house.
The world that makes you old.
The world that makes you
theaters,
old.
Summer 2025.
Shyamalan, hire me. Come on.
All right.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I don't like that.
Yeah, it wigs me out when I think about it. Do you have anything kind of like that, or any stories you wanted to share?
I do. However, it is I'm gonna the thing about my story is that there's no mystery to my story. I do know what happened, but I think it's still scary regardless, because it was like, what the fuck? And I think it'll be scarier if I tell you what it really was before we get to the scary part, because we do know we kind of have an idea of what it was, but basically, I worked as a when I was 16. I worked as a camp counselor in a camp.
Nothing
for Boy
good ever
Scouts?
happens at camp.
No. Well, a lot of things did happen, but I was 16, so I turned them into bad things. But this is actually one of the things that I'm glad. I have so many stories from working that summer, and I'm like, frequently I'm like, man, I wish I can go back and work for just one more summer, because that was like wild. That was just a wild time. I was 16. I worked at a Boy Scout camp for a summer in upstate New York, and I was a staff member for the ecology center. So we had a lodge. We had a little ecology lodge. It was just a small 2-story building. It was built into the side of a hill. So there was ground exits and entrances from the first floor and the basement, because it's on a hill. And on the first floor, there is one wall. So there's the door when you enter, and then on the complete opposite wall from the entrance is the whole wall is just windows, large windows, no shades or anything, that just cover the entire wall. And that's where we hung out all the time. We used to teach merit badges, to hang out when we had breaks, to fuck around when the day was done. That's where we would go. And it wasn't really off the beaten path or anything like that. It was on like the main campus of the campgrounds, but it was tucked away enough so that it was very dark there. You had to go down a small path to like really fully reach it. So it was kind of isolated in a way. And one week there was an issue where some campers in a certain troop that I don't remember who it was. I think we found out. But it was like, I believe it was like a troop that every year they pulled some like shit. It was weird. They were like the villains of the camp. It was like a cartoon villains.
Yeah, we had
where camp, like Camp Laszlo style. Like, oh, those are that's the rich camp. They get like the really fancy campgrounds and they get all the fancy stuff, but they're kind of like the troublemakers and they kind of do what they want. They're kind of like messed up like that. And they every year they go out and they play like a big prank. I don't know if it was them, but like we had that troop there every year. They're not relevant to the story. I just wanted you to know that we had that. But one year, it might have been them, it might not have been them. We were getting vandalized. Areas were getting vandalized. So people were coming into certain areas at night and they were like spray painting shit and like just kind of like minor property damage. And we were like, well, what do we do? So we were given options to sleep at our work sites instead of sleeping at the staff campground. We were asked if we would like to, for a couple of nights, sleep in our work sites to basically dissuade people from vandalizing the place. And me and my two other coworkers, Sam and Kevin, we were like, oh, that sounds really fun. Because it's like, oh, okay, we can stay in a place with like electricity and like a door and walls for a night. That's kind of cool. Let's just do that. That just sounds like a cute like thing to do. So we did that. And what we did was, you know, it was starting. I was only 16 at the time, so I always got really scared at night at that place because it is the dark, like deep woods. Like that shit gets dark, it gets scary, it gets loud. And walking on a trail with like a single flashlight, like I don't know, you're like, ooh, you feel like something's behind you all the time. I don't like it at all. But I was with like my friends and I was like, all right, this will be fine. There wasn't really anywhere to sleep. So we just slept on the fold out tables that we had the kids do activities on. And we just like literally just slept on them in our sleeping bags. And you know, we were getting ready for bed. We were like, oh, blah, 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 going to bed. And I was like, ugh, I hate these giant windows, man. Like that was a point in time where I was like, my imagination really ran a lot of the time, and I was scared I was gonna wake up and there was gonna be like Mothman like hovering outside the window or something like that, with his like glowing red eyes. I was scared something was gonna be outside that window, like peering in at me. And we're on the second, you know, well, we're not on the second floor, we're on the first floor, but it's off the ground. That on that side of the building on the windows, it's off the ground. So if something's like peering in at me, like that's fucking scary as shit. And me and Kevin were gonna stay on the first floor, and our friend Sam was gonna stay in the basement. He was gonna sleep in the basement, where there's also two really big windows and like two scary doors. And
scary door.
The scary doors, yeah, because the doors also had windows on them. So like we were like, oh, this is fucking freaky. I don't like. And the doors, that's another thing that was fucking scary. The doors had a little like window on it, like a porthole type thing on it, and it's pitch fucking black outside. So if someone's like watching in, if someone's like looking at us from the outside, that's scary as shit. So I'm just like setting the tone for you. Like this is where we were sleeping, and it really was fucking scary. Like I'd be scared of it like today, but at the time I was like, this is kind of like funny, but also I was kind of scared because those windows were dark and they were just like portals into nothing. because we were in the deep woods with moonlight didn't even reach us. It was just scary. So we get ready for bed. We have like a whole moment where we're like, do we want to leave the windows open or close? It's a cool night. Let's leave the windows open. We leave the windows open. So me and Kevin get into our sleeping bags and we fall asleep. And both of us wake up in the middle of the night to fucking screaming, just like guttural, like deep screaming. Like it sounds like almost like a woman, almost like a monstrous woman. That's what it sounds like. And
I would have pissed my pants.
Yeah, no, me and Kevin were fucking scared shitless. Both of us woke up and we were both like drowsy. We were both confused and disoriented. And we were like shivering, both of us. We were like, Kevin, what the fuck is that? And Kevin was like, I don't know. And we didn't know what to do. So we just sat quiet and we just like hoped that it would stop. And it just kept on going. It was like going for like just several minutes, until I fell back asleep, actually. And I was like, that's kind of bizarre, like in hindsight, that I actually fell back asleep, because we heard the sound of like murder outside, like some forest creature, like forest beast, like screaming, and we eventually fell back asleep. But like, I don't know, have you ever seen a horror movie where like something horribly traumatic happens to a character and they like get away from the villain and they just like kind of fall asleep or something like that?
Yeah, or the age-old,
that's kind of what
it
was.
Sleep, then the ghost will leave me alone.
That's pretty much what it was. We were like, I just hope that if I like close our eyes, hopefully if I fall back asleep, this won't happen. And also, I again, we were disoriented, confused, drowsy. I wasn't even sure it was happening. I didn't move. I didn't crane my head forward to see if I can look at the window. I didn't open my eyes because I was that fucking scared. I was like, I'm scared shitless. I couldn't believe it. And eventually I fell back asleep, somehow. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, I kind of like woke up, got my bearings, like thought about everything for a little bit. And I was like, did that happen? Like, oh, okay, that definitely happened. I remember it very clearly, despite it all. I remember it very, very clearly. And I like got ready and stuff like that, and I started taking down my sleeping bag, and I turned around, and the day before we put paper on that door because we were scared of it. We locked that door. We were so scared of that door the whole night. Me and Kevin were both like scared shitless of that door the whole night. And so I got up and I put away my sleeping bag. I looked at the door and the door was open. It was cracked open. Yeah, and like a full body chill went down my body, and I was like, no fucking way. I was like, when did this get opened? Like Kevin, I'm like, Kevin, we shut the door last night, right? He's like, I think so. And I was like, when the fuck did this open? There's no fucking possible way we left this open all night. Or someone like came in like during the night or something like that. Like, what happened? And we went downstairs. Sam wasn't there anymore. And we were like, I guess Sam went out the basement doors. And we like looked around and we were just examining. We were just trying to figure out like what the fuck could have happened. We heard screaming last night. The door was open. This is really scary. I'm gonna find out like someone took pictures of me in my sleep or something. Like I don't know. But we didn't see Sam that night. So I find Sam and we're like, tell Sam, we're like, Sam, did you see any of the fucking thing that happened last night? And Sam was just, completely unfazed. He's like, oh yeah, I heard that. And we're like, you're not like freaked out? Like, what's up? And he goes, oh, no. I mean, it was like really weird. I think it was a deer. And we're like, you think it's a deer? Yeah. And I was like, yeah. I think it was a deer. I think something was like getting killed. I think a deer was getting killed right outside. And I was like, well, what? Why do you say that? And he's like, well, it kind of sounded like a deer. Also, when I got up in the morning and I went outside in the backyard, I saw a blood stain on the floor and I cleaned it up. I washed it away with water, with the hose. And I was just like thinking to myself, first of all, Sam was a strange guy. He was like the best person at that camp. I loved him dearly. He's awesome. But he was a very strange guy. So I would not put it past Sam to fucking see like a murder scene and go, huh, all right, and like move past it. But I was like, what the fuck, man? You just like wash away blood and you're just like, all right, you hear screaming and you wash away blood and then you just like move on with your life. And then years later, I've thought back on it and I actually have found footage of deer getting like mauled by a bear, and they make the scariest fucking sound ever.
Is it the same sound?
It is very close to the same sound. The video I saw was much deeper than the sound I heard. So I don't know if it was a deer. I bet it was some type of like woodland critter who definitely probably was getting murdered in some way, because woodland critters sound very much like human women. Have you ever heard the sound of like a cougar like yelping in the night? It sounds just like an adult woman screaming for help, which is fucked up. First of all, why do they do that? But yeah, I found a video. I'll send it to you later. We should not play it on the podcast because it's scary and unnerving. But if you look up audio of a deer screaming, I mean like a bear is pinning it and biting its nape with the full force of its jaw, screaming. It is a very, very haunting sound. And take that sound and imagine it outside your window, deep in the woods, in the middle of the night. But also keep in mind that you're 16 and you've never heard that sound before in your entire fucking life. You don't even know what a deer sounds like. And that's the sound you hear in the middle of the night. That's what happened. That's what happened to me. And it was so fucked up. But it's also really funny now.
What about the door?
Oh, the door? Oh, it's disappointing. Sam left through the door, and then he left earlier than all of us, and then he just didn't close the door properly.
Damn.
So that was that. But it did scare the fuck out of me.
Yeah,
that scared
the fuck out of me. And now I'm looking at my closet door is slightly ajar behind me, and I'm starting to get that creepy feeling.
Oh, dude. One time, I was on Skype with my friends. You know, before we were using Discord, we were using Skype, and I had a jacket. I had like my sweatshirt draped over a chair behind me, near like my closet. And we were on Skype, and I had no lights on in my room. The only light was my face being illuminated, and my room being slightly illuminated by my computer screen. And my friends are like, Jonathan, what the fuck is behind you? And I went, what? And I was like so hyper aware of what was going on that even though I knew that the jacket was behind me, I thought it was a person. I screamed so loud. It was so funny.
Damn. Yeah, that got me. That is terrifying. I mean, even if it was a deer, that's still terrifying that it happened so close.
Yeah, it's my only real like scary story of like something that like really actually was like fucking genuinely like horrifying. And that just goes to show you that nature is really scary. You see I see a lot of videos because, you know, I like these types of videos where it's like unexplainable videos online. This person was in the Alpine Mountains and he heard this sound, and it's like the sound of a ghoul woman screaming. And then I'm just like, oh, that's probably like a squirrel making the scariest sound you ever heard in your life. It just makes me appreciate how like kind of fucked up nature is for doing that type of thing. Just makes like, okay, this creature just makes that sound. And it's just like, you know, just because more people should know that. You know, I think more people should understand that these creatures make that sound. Like, I know you've heard the sound of like a moose like grunting really loud.
Moosin'.
Yeah, moosin'. Like it's very similar to that. It's like all the air like getting pushed out of its like lungs. It's, you know, 30-pound each lung. That makes the scary sounds when you scream from them.
Yeah, that's fucked up. I don't know if I would ever sleep at camp again.
I didn't have a choice, unfortunately. I still had half of the summer left, so I just kind of took it on the chin, and I just kind of tried to forget about it.
Yeah.
I never did.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
No. I did also, very, very small thing, that same camp. This is like a joke. This is the last thing I'll say. But in that same camp, that same summer, I was having trouble getting to sleep one night. It was probably like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I it it was like it's like a cartoon again, where I heard the sound of wolves I heard like a wolf howl in the distance, and I was like, oh, that's scary. That's like kind of freaky. And then I then hear the sounds of that wolf pack quietly walking through the campground and like stiffing in the tents. And it's one of those tents, it's like a canvas tent where it's not like actually shut.
Yeah.
It's just like they're just tied together, like the flaps are just tied together, so they're still like kind of open. So I just had to listen to this like pack of wolves and their paws just like slowly meander through the campground, and I was just like, this fucking sucks, I want to go home.
That is scarier than the deer.
It's so funny. It's so fun. I don't know if it was wolves, but it was a pack of dogs, and I was like, this place fucking sucks, man.
That is so scary.
Yeah. I miss the woods because the shit like that happened, and you just had to deal. You just wake up, and you just like, there's like a dead animal in the middle of your campsite, and you're just like, well, cat must have gotten it.
The counselors at my camp had a cabin, so I know not all of them are the same, but whenever you were saying you were in the tents, that just surprised me.
I wish. The important counselor's got a cabin. The director's got a cabin.
Right.
Not I.
All right.
Not I.
Do you mind if I share with you my favorite creepypasta?
Go for it. Let's do it.
Okay. So if you've heard this one, let me know, and I'll truncate it for the
think I
audience.
have.
But
Where's it called?
I don't think it has like a name. Like, you know, they always have like a name. I don't think this one has a name. It's just like that search and rescue guy who finds weird shit in the woods.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm just going to read parts of it, and then we can, like, talk about it. So,
okay.
It says, I'm a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service. I have some stories to tell. I have a pretty good track record for finding missing people. Most of the time, they just wander off the path or slip down a small cliff, and they can't find their way back. The majority of them have heard the old stay where you are thing, so they don't wander far, but I've had 2 cases where that didn't happen. Both bother me a lot, and I use them as motivation to search even harder on the missing persons cases I get called on. The first was a little boy who was out berry picking with his parents. He and his sister were together, and both of them went missing around the same time. Their parents had lost sight of them for a few seconds, and in that time, both the kids wandered off. When the parents couldn't find them, they called us, and we quickly came out to search the area. We found the daughter pretty quickly, and when we asked her where her brother was, she said that he had been taken away by the bear man. She said he gave her berries and told her to stay quiet, that he wanted her to play with her brother for a while. That's the last she saw of her brother. He was riding on the shoulders of the bear man and seemed calm. Of course, the first thought was an abduction, but we never found a trace of another human being in that area. The little girl was also insistent that he wasn't a normal man, but that he was tall and covered in hair like a bear, and that he had a weird face. We searched for areas for weeks, and it was one of the longest calls I'd ever been out on, but when we never found a single trace of that kid, and the other case was a young woman who was out hiking with her mom and grandpa. According to the mother, her daughter had climbed up a tree to get a better view of the forest, and she just never came back down. They waited at the base of the tree for hours, calling her name, before they called for help. Again, we searched everywhere, and we could find no trace of her. I have no idea where she could have possibly gone, because neither her mother or grandpa saw her come down from the tree. So that's one story. This is all like an anthology of stories from this guy's career. He said, okay, a few times I've been out on my own searching with a canine, and they've tried to lead me straight up cliffs. Not hills, not even rock faces. Straight, sheer cliffs with no possible handholds. It's always baffling. And in those cases, we usually find the person on the other side of the cliff, or miles away from where the canine has led us. I'm sure there's an explanation, but it's sort of strange. Okay, this one...
My microphone was muted because I was like, I didn't want to ruin the story with my keyboard clicking because I wanted to read along with you. Yeah. But I said I didn't realize it was like a unconnected stories. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah, so these ones are kind of long. So let me see.
Well, while you look for one, I like the Creepypasta Wiki because you find some stuff that like you definitely have heard of before, but now you can read them for yourself, like the Russian sleep experiment, like the rake. But I wanted to be clear that on popular pages, number 2 is normal porn for normal people, and it has the picture of a monkey screaming, and I am uncomfortable.
I don't want to read that one.
No, I probably will. No, this is not good for me. You showed me a wiki of all just spooky story creepypasta. Fuck, man.
Okay, this one's long, but I'll tell this one and then my favorite one, and then I'll be done with this. It's okay.
Okay.
This is one of the scariest things I've ever had happen to me involved the search for a young woman who got separated from her hiking group. We were out until late at night because the dogs had picked up her scent. When we found her, she was curled up under a large rotted log. She was missing her shoes and pack, and she was clearly in shock. She didn't have any injuries, and we were able to get her to walk with us back to the base. Along the way, she kept looking behind us and asking why that man with the big black eyes was following us. We couldn't see anyone, so we just wrote it off as some weird shock symptom. But the closer we got to the base, the more agitated the woman got. She kept asking me to tell him to stop making faces at her. At one point, she stopped and turned around and started yelling into the forest, saying that she wanted him to leave her alone. She wasn't going to go with him, she said, and she wouldn't give us to him. We finally got her to keep moving, but we started hearing weird noises coming from all around us. It was almost like coughing, but more rhythmic and deeper. It was almost insect-like. When we were within sight of base ops, the woman turns to me, and her eyes are about as wide as I can imagine a human can open them. She touches my shoulder and says, "He tells you to speed up. He doesn't like looking at the scar on your neck." I have a very small scar on the base of my neck, but it's mostly hidden under my collar, and I have no idea how this woman saw it. Right after she says it, I hear a weird coughing right in my ear, and I just about jumped out of my skin. I hustled to ops, trying not to show how freaked out I was, but I have to say I was really happy when I left the area that night.
Oh, I hate that shit. I hate that shit because it's like there's no conclusion, so it's just like, oh, what was that?
Yeah. And then this one is the reason I like this one so much. It messed me up. It's kind of the similar thing I was talking about earlier where I can't remember, so it's just like no resolution whatsoever.
Yeah. Ooh, this is making me do like the thing we remember last year where I was like, ooh, I was looking around my room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing that again.
This is the last one I'll tell, and it's probably the weirdest story I have. Now, I don't know if this is true in every search and rescue unit, but in mine, it's sort of an unspoken, regular thing we run into. You can try asking about it with other officers, but even if they know what you're talking about, they probably won't say anything. We've been told not to talk about it by our superiors, and at this point, we've all gotten so used to it that it doesn't even seem weird anymore. On just about every case where we're really far into the wilderness, I'm talking 30 or 40 miles, at some point we'll find a staircase in the middle of the woods. It's almost like if you took the stairs in your house, cut them out, and put them in the forest. I asked about it the first time I saw them, and the other officers just told me not to worry about it and that it was normal. Everyone I asked said the same thing. I wanted to go check them out, but I was told very emphatically that I should never go near any of them. I just sort of ignore them now when I run into them because it happens so frequently. For some reason, that messes me up. More than the big black eye creepy guy, it's just the stairs.
Ugh. Was that on the creepypasta wiki? I might have to read all these.
I'm not sure. I don't even know where I first heard this. It was probably at like a scout camp or something, but it's definitely like a Reddit thing that goes around every year.
Where did you read the other ones?
I got all these off of No Sleep, but I don't think that's where it was originally posted.
Yeah, because I actually was reading along with you on creepypasta wiki.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those stories.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them too. Like I think they made like 3 or 4 parts.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's like 4 parts that were really long. I was like, oh my god, homie's gonna read the whole thing.
No. Just
because I was gonna say I would listen. It would just take a really long time. Fuck. Okay. You heard that too, right?
No.
Our friend sent a message into chat, and it made the spooky noise. And
scary Discord noise.
I got a cold chill. Oh, I hate when this happens.
Yeah, I like this feeling until I have to go to bed.
Yeah, no, I like this feeling until I have to shut down. I have to get off call with you, shut this down, and walk upstairs, and everyone's asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, I'm gonna put on Clocktown music in the background to. maybe that's not the best.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Day one's fine, right?
Yeah, but yeah, that's my favorite creepypasta. I'm not a huge like scary story reader online, especially nowadays. But for some reason, that one I've always really liked.
I love scary stories. Love scary stories. Unfortunate because I get scared.
Yeah. Well, you're the wiki rabbit hole king, so I can only imagine.
Yeah. I used to read those Reddit text-to-speech, like the scariest stories, or like they still do that, like Mr. Nightmare.
Yeah, they
style,
definitely
like
still do.
read 8 scary stories of meeting strangers online. Like, I'm a sucker for that.
Yeah, I try not to because then I inevitably get too scared. So I
I'm a little
avoid it.
I'm a little baby. I know it's gonna scare me, and I do it. I did that when I went down the fear and hunger rabbit hole. I scared the shit out of myself.
Yeah.
I was uncomfortable for like a week, and then I did that when I was a kid with Slender Man. I was so into Slender Man. I was like, this is spooky, and then it became nighttime, and I was fucking crippled.
Yeah, that happened to me too, and I don't know why we did it to ourselves.
Cause funny, he's big man, and also Markiplier and PewDiePie played that game. Yeah.
Did you know they put Slender Man in Minecraft as like a add-on on the console version, like that meme, but it's real.
Excuse me. What do you mean?
Like
he's like a thing?
Yeah, like there's an add-on pack that adds a bunch of cryptids to Minecraft, and it's just like available for children to download.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they like just in the game?
It's like, I mean, it's a mod, but like they have the console mods now that are like approved and official, or not official, but you know what I mean.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, cryptid pack. It's right here. Minecraft.net.
It's creepy.
Is that? Wow. Look at that. Is this what I'm looking for? Oh no. I don't know. For some reason, they made the Jersey Devil a greaser. I think these are just skins.
That's awesome.
But the image I'm looking at, they made the Jersey Devil a greaser. Wait, yeah, that is awesome. I like that quite a bit. Ooh.
You have any final scary stories for us?
No, I actually don't.
Okay.
I do have the Slender Mansion on this, because you said something about I was like, I'm surprised we didn't talk about Slender Man last year. I don't think we did we?
We definitely did. I don't know to what extent.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we don't have to talk about it. I just know that, we were of that age group kit, really affected by Slender Man. But I was like, I said the Slender Mansion to you today when we were talking about the episode, and you were like, I want to hear about the Slender Mansion. And I just don't want to disappoint you, but I have to a little bit, because the Slender Mansion isn't like a story. It isn't like the name of a story or creepypasta. It's like a real thing that happened. Do you remember the Slender Man stabbings? Those two girls who lured the other girl out into the middle of the woods and stabbed her? Yeah, she lived. Yeah, it was really messed up. And if you follow that story, I don't really want to talk about it very much, because I don't know.
There's a pretty good documentary about it on Max. If anyone wants to learn more about it.
Yeah, it just feels wrong to talk about this girl's horrible experience. I don't know. So I won't talk about it much. But one of the reasons why they did it in the first place was because, well, they were both, the perpetrators were both like, mentally ill, and they believed in Slender Man. They thought Slender Man was going to take them to the something called the Slender Mansion, I believe, and that's just a ridiculous concept. IMO, the Slender Mansion, what's in it? What are you gonna do? I don't know.
16 3-piece suits for 7-foot tall people in the closet.
Yeah, and it's just like a really tall bed and just big doorways. It's just a regular mansion, just bigger.
What do you think they do with the Slender Mansion? Like, you're not gonna watch TV. You're gonna like go scare. You're gonna like go stop people from collecting your pages.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing at the Slender Mansion? What's the next phase of the plan? I know that the plan, there wasn't really a next phase of the plan because it was just a delusion, but like, let's entertain the thought for a second. When we get to Slender Mansion, what's for dinner? Where's everyone staying? What do we, I don't know. I'm just saying. These are the types of things. If this was a movie, this is the type of thing that you see, like, you watch Your Movie Sucks on YouTube, and he's like, well, what do you, this is the section of the video where he's like, you're gonna go to the Slender Mansion, what are you gonna do with the Slender Mansion? There's no food, there's no place to live. That's me right now.
Whenever you said Slender Mansion, I thought that it was gonna be like a Addams Family situation.
That would have been better.
With like all,
you know what? Yeah.
Isn't there like a Lady Slender or something from that one game, The Arrival?
Oh, no, there's a girl, but it's just like a regular girl with like a messed up face, but she's like a victim. She's not like an actual slender person. There's only one, I guess. I don't really know. But something that I also just remembered, I saw this out of context clip of Family Guy once, and then I watched the clip in context, and I still don't really understand why it happened. But there's this episode of Family Guy, like a recent episode of Family Guy, where Peter gets tall, He just becomes like tall. I'm not kidding. I'll send you the clip later. He becomes tall, and he just looks a little funny because he's like much taller, so he looks a little like lanky and stuff. And there's a clip of him on one of those rides at an amusement park. Where it's like the swing, and it just swings you around in a circle. And it's him on this ride, and he's like laughing. He's like, he's like laughing and really excited. And then these like goth girls are on their phones, and they see him, and they point at him, and they go, "It's Slender Man!" And then Peter points at them and goes, "Kill yourself!" And then that's the clip. And I just don't understand. I've never. This clip has been out for like 3 years. Still don't get it.
At this point, I think they're AI generated.
They might be. You have to actually. I think you should really actually watch Family Guy.
No.
Like literally sit
refuse.
down. No, I think you should because it's a smart. Not the show, but what he's doing is smart because he's throwing so much shit at the wall to see what sticks, and some of it does, and it's just such like a. Like, you know, snap, 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 like jokes that most of them don't land. And eventually, it's funny that they're not landing. That's almost the joke, is that it's not fucking funny. Maybe it's Stockholm Syndrome.
We need to do... We've been teasing it. Not teasing it. We've been teasing with the idea. We keep almost doing a creepypasta episode, but then we don't. So we
I thought you didn't want to. I would totally do one.
I didn't not want to. I just had other things I would rather do for spooky season. But I think at this point next year that might be the move.
I think we have to. I think creepypastas are such an important aspect of not only video game culture but popular culture in general. I think we have to explore it in some capacity.
We do. I agree.
Yeah.
So remind me 1 year from now, creepypasta episode. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching
that'll work.
the Halloween episode, and we'll be back for your regularly scheduled programming next week. I assume we'll be doing just some reviews, but I guess we'll see. This was a goalpost, and now we reached it. And now we're like, okay, now we're kind of ramping down before we come back up for Game of the Year season. So we're taking it easy for the next couple months. We're still going to be making episodes, but we don't have a big... I mean, I guess we could do a holiday special, but we kind of did that last time, and it was just like, I play video games when I'm on Christmas break. So I don't know if we'll do that again.
I mean, we're not wrong.
That's true.
We do.
That is. We're not lying. If I'm lying, I'm dying.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Go enjoy Halloween. Go get trick or treat. If you're of age, party responsibly. If you're of older age and you have young ones, make sure they get their candy and that you don't let them get sick. All right, everyone.
Yeah.
Until next time, we will
See ya.